Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Midnight Strike Through Mormons live stream. Boy, today is going to be a lot of fun. All right. This is going to be a proverbial blast. All right. We've got in the studio with us Jonah Barnes, comedic writer at large. What's going on, Jonah? I realized I started you with on the wrong screen. So now you're here. Say hi.
I'm
to
the
everybody.
host now. I'm in the right screen. I'm the host. I own this show right now.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Yeah, we're going to whip this stream into shape, Carden.
Yeah, and I got to say, we're going to have a lot of fun today because, first off, everybody's going to be disappointed and angry, okay? All of the antis that have been looking for a smoking gun aren't going to get it. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have a chance to make fun of some of the faux pas of some people that I don't know. This is going to be a blast. This is going to be a blast. Okay, it's just going to be so much fun.
I feel so sorry just already for those anti-Mormons. I just feel so bad for them.
Yeah, like we are going to dissect for 2 hours a nothing burger, and it's going to be pretty funny. I just got to say right off the bat that I absolutely love this fake scandal. Okay, actually, let's just dive right in. Before we start saying what we think, this is what I do commit to doing, all right, is we are going to dive right in and just do a minute-by-minute debunking of this thing, analyzing every claim. I literally have hours of research put into this thing, all right? And it's, okay. This is
hours, guys, 2 hours
this is gonna be fun.
Research put into that.
So anyway, first and foremost, if you guys have any questions, you know what I'm saying, just, hey, Ed, can you check and make sure the stream's live? Sometimes we jump in, it's not going. And there's a big call for the intro. So here's what we're going to do. As we let people come into the chat, we are going to bust out the intro because there's not going to be a long time that we're able to use this intro much longer. So I'm actually going to play it one last time for everybody. Well, not one last time. We might be able to get one more stream in before the rebrand. But yeah, here we go. Because everybody's missed the intro. Let's do the intro, then we'll come back.
Hit it.
Oh no, it's not playing.
Well, no, why not?
The Midnight Mormons, mature and childish.
Cult apology,
playing, but there's no audio. I actually can't describe why that's happening. Give it a second. Here we go. One more time. Oh, no. You know what? It must be a bad. Okay, cool. Bummer. Guess we're not going to be doing that. So anyway. Before we get started, Diamond Dave, thank you very much for the super chat. By the way, if any of you guys want to have your comments read, make sure you just super chat them. And it says, oh, wait, could they hear it? Ed, could they hear it? Turn up the volume.
Yeah, they can.
Oh, they can. Oh, you know what? They could. Okay. It wasn't coming through on my end. There's something. OBS did an update. Okay, so we're going to do this again. We're going to try this one more time. And we're gonna do the VHS intro right here.
The suspense is
okay, here we go.
The Midnight Mormons, mature and childish.
Cult apology, of course.
I knew you come across as a sweet guy. You kind of like look like Shermie the elf from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Just don't like to make toys.
You know, naive people doing naive things to try to justify belief.
Waku L, Carden Ellis, and Brad Whitbeck, and then Midnight Mormons, where they get even more vicious and cruel.
I could make a horrific video on Carden.
Then they fought us.
You are going to be tarred with the same brush as these two, and it will not be good for you any more than it already is.
Then we won.
Because you don't need 20 friends. You just need 3 motherfuckers. You can take over a country. Okay, that's what we're confused as Americans. We think we need all these motherfuckers. You give me 3 bad motherfuckers, and you're finished. You understand me? You're fucking finished.
Brace yourself. for another episode of
You do not realize what kind of a can of whoop you have opened. Carden Ellis, I am calling you out. You have no idea what kind of pain you are going to suffer. I will not eat the bug, do you understand me? And Quaker, you want to talk about snapping into a Slim Jim? I've never seen a slimmer Jim what I'm going to snap into with you.
And like, by their fruits ye shall know them, right?
I will come after your children. I will come after your children's children. I will come after multiple generations of you and smack you down.
Ignition in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right. Okay, so we are back. Jonah. Yeah, I know. It's fun. It's fun. It's fun. You know what I'm saying? So, let's get ready. Let's get ready to go. So for those of you guys that are just tuning in, a big hullabaloo was created recently. Why? Because 60 Minutes, the beloved show from for nearly, I say, over... Oh, goodness gracious, I'd say, I think they started in 1964 or 1968. It was somewhere in the mid to late 60s, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Sigourney Weaver's father started SNL at a similar time, I think in the early 70s. So this is one of the flagship broadcast institutions of the United States of America. And they did, I mean, what kind of it was really a nothing burger. A lot of people call it a hit piece. If somebody at, CBS had an axe to grind against the Mormon church, which many of them do because the media is wildly anti-Mormon at this point, I could call it a hit piece. Really, as a guy that works in media, I would more call it a slow news day. Okay, that really did not end well for 60 Minutes. I think they thought they were going to drum up some business and then came up a little bit empty-handed here. All right, but just before we jump in, we're going to catch everybody up. If you haven't been aware of the hullabaloo over the past 48 hours, this is what everybody's talking about. So we're just going to play their preview. Wow, you like that? My voice cracking. I'm already losing it. I've got my 2 Gatorades right here with a Sevilla drink to get me through this live stream. But anyway, we're just going to play you a little preview of what their 60 Minutes was going to be.
Every year, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints collects $7 billion in contributions from its 17 million members. The church has its own investment firm. But there are questions now about how millions of those dollars have been used by the famously private church.
What about, the idea that secrecy builds mistrust?
Mm-hmm. Well, we don't feel it's being secret. We feel it's being confidential.
What's the difference?
And it ends right there. Yeah,
he ended it right there.
Yeah, it ends right there. Okay.
Come on.
And if we go back to it, it ends with this guy looking like a noob, looking like a doofus, looking like a guy who was what? He was trying to, cover his bases. He was trying to answer an unanswerable question that a deep and profound journalist who is digging deep to ask those hard questions got, right? So, wow, this is a stirring indictment, man. Holy smoke, what's going on, right? We got to tune in, right? The only problem is instead of being a searing and stirring indictment that puts 60 Minutes once again at the 20 million viewer mark that it probably was in the 80s or something like that, it ended up falling flat. And why? Because media has a big problem. I'm actually going to tune into a guy who was just fired from media really fast. One, Tucker Carlson, who had a very interesting monologue indicting modern media. And we're going to go over some stats of modern media really fast and then dive into all of the actual accusations as we move forward with this little production here. So let's see what Tucker Carlson has to say about modern media really fast, and we're going to see if it applies. We'll use this as a backbone for the indictment of the modern media. Let's see if any of this applies, okay?
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. You often hear people say
By the way, all the progmos are super cringing and like screaming at the screens right now. It's probably really funny, okay?
They're worse. They're Cardin Ellis and Tucker Carlson together. They're hating life.
They just can't handle it. So here we go.
News is full of lies. But most of the time, that's not exactly right. Much of what you see on television or read the New York Times is in fact true in the literal sense. It could pass one of the media's own fact checks. Lawyers would be willing to sign off on it. In fact, they may have. But that doesn't make it true. It's not true.
Okay, so here he does a very interesting analysis saying, you know, true is a very interesting word. Whether or not a lawyer will say, yes, indeed, that did happen, or whether or not there's a deeper meaning, that's all called into question right now. So he continues.
At the most basic level, the news you consume is a lie of the stealthiest and most insidious kind.
Oh, that's brutal. So that's an indictment on the entire news organization. Just like Donald Trump got up and said, I know that the system is corrupt and broken because I benefit from it. I pay the politicians. You know what I'm saying? Like, he basically said, I got Hillary Clinton to do stuff that she wanted me, that I wanted to do in New York because I paid her campaign donations. You know, as he basically insinuated that, say, as an insider of the soft/hard corruption of New York and federal politics. We've got another insider, Tucker Carlson, who's been a mainstay of North American cable news for 2 decades, literally indicting the whole system. And how is it bad? He continues.
Facts have been withheld on purpose, along with proportion and perspective.
Okay, facts being withheld, along with proportion and perspective. Let's remember those 2 words, Jonah, because I think those might apply.
Will this apply later?
Yeah, and there will be a quiz.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so pay attention.
Okay, I'll take notes.
Okay, here we go.
How does that work? Let's see. If I tell you that a man has been and perspective, you are being manipulated.
Oof.
How does that work? Let's see. If I tell you that a man has been unjustly arrested for armed robbery, that is not, strictly speaking, a lie. He may have been framed. At this point, there's been no trial, so no one can really say. But if I don't mention the fact that the same man has been arrested for the same crime 6 times before, am I really informing you?
No, you're not. You're like he said before, you are manipulating the audience if that's what you're doing. So we let him continue.
No, I'm not. I'm misleading you. And that's what the news media are doing in every story that matters, every day of the week, every week of the year.
Okay, so this is a story that matters.
Yes.
And so, Jonah, I think whether or not the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is engaged in doing some kind of falsified prosperity gospel, or whether they're in the business of obfuscating and hiding funds for nefarious purposes, or blatantly lying about, I don't know, that Cayman Islands account that we're using to pay off our mistresses, or, you know, if their leaders have the huge yachts that they're calling, you know, remember that one prosperity gospel preacher that got busted for having like a $6 million private jet? And he's like,
there's like 50 that have gotten busted.
Yeah,
for that.
Exactly. So
it's
we
like
got
a tradition.
So we got to check Russell M. Nelson's garage here, make sure he doesn't have any Lambos, make sure that, you know, he doesn't have any private jets hidden in the backyard. Speaking of which, shout out to Russell M. Nelson, who announced that he is indeed on occasion using a walker due to balance issues. That came out on both Twitter and Instagram today. If there's any proof that we have the Abrahamic covenant back in the modern day with ancient prophets, we got like nearly 100-year-old prophet who's leading us, who just admitted at like 93, he's 93 now, he's like, yeah, every once in a while when I go hot around a corner, I got to use a walker. Meanwhile, he's in better shape than all of us, you know?
I actually think, he's actually 98. He turns 99. No. Yeah, he turns 99 this September.
He's nearly 100 years old and finally admitted that, yeah, if I'm coming in hot around a corner, sometimes I got to brace myself. You know, like this dude's a jet fighter. Move over, Uchtdorf. All right,
Dude,
this
I can't
guy.
believe he didn't get it. I can't believe he didn't just like find a deacon to carry him on his shoulders. I would do that. President Nelson, if you're watching this, if you are tired of that walker, I will give you a piggyback around the house all the time.
No, actually, he could be like the guy that came in on 300. You know, with like a quorum of deacons, you know, just like with like okay. So anyway, we've checked his garage. He doesn't have a Lambo, and we checked Salt Lake City International Airport, and he has not sequestered anybody's private jets. So let's see what else Tucker has to say about this.
Okay.
What's it like to work in a system like that? After more than 30 years in the middle of it, we could tell you stories. The best you can hope for in the news business at this point is the freedom to tell the fullest truth that you can.
Okay, that's a noble goal.
But there are always limits. And you know that if you bump up against those limits often enough, you will be fired for it.
Or the news media will come after you. See, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints ran afoul of the news media several years ago, especially specifically in 2008, when it actually backed a law that was defending the traditional definition of marriage in the California Constitution. It was a poorly written law that actually most Mormons, had it been written differently, such as the laws passed only 2 years earlier that were civil union partnerships and things like that, had it been written slightly differently in a way that didn't harass or contend with the 501c3 status of the church or the temple sealings of a church, then most Mormons actually would have gone with it, because the Mormon people are very peaceful people. We're a pluralist people. We believe in letting people worship how, where, and what they may. And we love having people of different walks of life around us. But when you come at our church specifically in a way that could do a lot of damage to it financially, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, then, you know, sorry, bruh. You know what I'm saying? We're not on board, okay? And by the way, we've withstood persecution before. You're welcome to add yourself to the chalkboard list of those that have failed, but we don't want it. We don't seek it. But, you know, in 2008, they tried to pass Prop 8. The church was probably, them and the Knights of Columbus were probably the biggest defensors of the traditional definition of marriage, and the bill lost. The woke scolds lost, and they got super angry. Many of the people that were in college fighting against the church had just enough time to graduate and are now working in media, and they're settling scores. Across the comic book industry, there's been all kinds of anti-Mormon comic book references that have come out. Across television, film, Broadway, we're giving awards to people that openly mock Mormonism, and it's one of the reverse third rails. You can always go after it for clicks and views, because Mormons don't really fight back. Now, this some might consider fighting back. For me, it's more laughing at. But, you know, we'll see how.
No, they're in it. No, right. There's an old saying that if you insult a Mormon, he's just going to send you a strudel. Right now, church headquarters is looking for the address of the producers at 60 Minutes to send them all pastries and strudels to say,
and pray for them.
A nice interview.
Yeah.
They're they're the same people who mocked us for being poor, right? Like 100 years ago, they were like, look at these idiots. They can't even save a dime. Actually, now we've outsaved them all, outinvested them all. They're angry again.
You know, it's actually kind of funny that you mentioned that. I don't want to jump ahead too far, but I am old enough to remember. Okay, I am old enough to remember. I'm not old enough to remember this one, but in the 1970s, there was an article written against the church in which they mocked the eyeball, I believe, of the president of the church. Okay, that was it was George Albert Smith, I believe, who had actually lost eyesight because of basically what would be considered a railroad injury nowadays, because he used to work for the railroad, and out in the desert the sun will beat off. Like snowboarders will get sometimes UV scarring on the bottom sides of their chins and their noses from the reflective energy of the sun that's coming down. Well, this happened while he was working out on the railroad, and then they tried to write an article saying that, like, oh, the Mormon church, instead of lauding its, you know, its expansion west and basically, you know, building all the municipalities from San Francisco all the way down to San Diego. Oh no, he's got a side-eye glance at the money the church is making off tithing. Yeah, let's not forget in the 1960s, through debt financing of their buildings, amongst other things, okay, they were actually in debt $32 million. Meanwhile, they wrote this. Now, I was too young to remember that. That came out in the 70s, I think it was. But I wasn't too young, okay? I wasn't too young to remember this doozy that came out. I don't know if you remember when Time Magazine wrote Mormons, Inc.
Oh, yeah.
And was talking about the bank that they thought the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was making, which, you know, back then was probably only a tenth of what it is now. All right. Because this was like, what, the late 90s, almost 30 years ago. So anyway, okay, so let's continue. Let's continue seeing what our buddy Tucker, has to say about the current state of media right here. Okay. Tucker, hold on, Tucker. Where you at? We've got overlay with browser. That was what I was looking for. Here we go.
That's not a guess. It's guaranteed. Every person who works in English language media understands that. The rule of what you can't say defines everything. It's filthy, really, and it's utterly corrupting. You can't have a free society if people aren't allowed to say what they think is true. Speech is the fundamental prerequisite for democracy. That's why it's enshrined in the first of our constitutional amendments.
Right next to what, Jonah Barnes? Free speech is right next to what?
Not establishing religion and the right to bear arms.
Yeah, freedom of religion. Exactly. Okay, so let's continue, Tucker. I will skip his de facto endorsement of Twitter, where he does he does like a commercial for Elon Musk, because who knows? Twitter could change its ethos tomorrow. But
Cardin, sorry, that was right after the right to have an abortion, actually.
Oh,
wait.
Can't use the A word.
I always get confused. I always think it's in there, but it's not in there.
Yeah, for real. Let's hope the YouTube overlords don't get angry at us for that one. So here we go.
Sorry, the A word.
Amazingly, as of tonight, there aren't many platforms left that allow free speech. The last big one remaining in the world, the only one, is Twitter.
Okay, so we're going to skip his little endorsement of Twitter, okay, and then see how he ends this thing. He says he's going to start doing his own show.
Is the main right that you have. Without it, you have no others.
Okay, excellent. So he basically talks about the importance of media preserving in the public square free speech, okay? Because none of us can opine and know what we're talking about until, we've got all of the same facts. So is that what we're dealing with? That's the question. Is that what we're dealing with? I'm going to pull up two articles really fast before we do the minute-by-minute debunking of this article of, the 60 Minutes expose. Yeah. Okay, but right now, America's trust in media is at an all-time low. This is actually from last year, and I wanted to see if it improved, but the truth is it hasn't. Did you know that 34% have a great deal or fair amount of confidence in the media? That's only exactly almost 1/3, with 38 having no trust at all, and there's a massive gap between Democrats. 70% as of a year ago thought that the news media told the truth. Meanwhile, only 14% of Republicans or 27% of independents trusted the media. So if you're a progmo, if you're a big time liberal, then you think the media is just great and they're swinging, they're just singing you lullabies. All right. However, if you're a real person that actually has experience in almost anything they speak on, you're like, they're lying, and it's either purposeful or else ignorant. But 14% to 20% confidence rate is brutal. Here's another article. Yeah, Fortune magazine noted this year, this was only in February, that trust in the media is so low that half of Americans now believe news organizations deliberately mislead them. Now, that's a pretty searing indictment. And is that the case of what we think is going on here? Well, I don't know, but I can point to some statistics, okay? Here is the recent performance of 60 Minutes. And last week, May 14th, they were clubbing with about 6.5 million. The week before, they had 7.2, 7.1. The week before, 7.4. So they've been languishing compared to the doozies they've launched. 11 million, 10.5 million, 10.6 million.
Carden.
Yeah.
Nobody watches 60 Minutes anymore. You and I are from a generation, we remember when they had somewhat credibility. Nobody's watching 60 Minutes anymore. 60 Minutes is like, it's like the Uncle Rico of the media world. It's like, I used to be able to throw football over those mountains. Like, yeah, sure.
Well,
Uncle
it's
Rico.
still
60 Minutes is
it's still between number 3 and number 7. And though it has less, even if you turn the aircraft carrier's engines off, it still has so much momentum that it can crush your port. All right.
That's true. But I mean, Pete Davidson has more slutty celebrity girlfriends than 60 Minutes has viewers. SNL has landed more jokes in the past 5 years than 60 Minutes has viewers. Vladimir Putin has more body doubles than 60 Minutes has viewers. Hillary Clinton has literally murdered more people than 60 Minutes has viewers, Carden. I'm sorry, I'm getting your stream flagged by the FBI here.
Yeah.
But it's true. It's true. John DeLynn has more credible accusations of harassment than 60 Minutes has viewers. Okay? We're not dealing with a juggernaut anymore. These people are pathetic. So don't worry, people. Don't worry. We're making.
She's called Rosebud because there's so many petals. It's symbolic of all the accusations. Oh, that is too brutal. So anyway, I look at this, and a lot of people are kind of freaking out about this, saying, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I said, look, first off, if you watched it, chances are you're 45 plus in age, okay? And everybody that's hooting and hollering about this as some kind of smoking gun is like, preferably people in court, especially the jury, will see the smoking gun. In my opinion, people that already hated the church are feeling justified and convinced in a lot of their straw man arguments, but are frustrated because there was no smoking gun presented. There was only vagaries that could be twisted into such on Ex-mormon subreddit and atheistic Facebook pages if you really wanted to. And you'll notice that it's only the atheist substacks and Twitter profiles that are running with this. But hey, regardless of what the straw men arguments are, regardless of what you already thought coming to this, let's analyze the accusations just on their face value, okay? And let's just go into this and let's see what 60 Minutes had to say or had to accuse us of. And we're just going to do a little minute by minute debunking here. Okay.
Okay. Let's hit it.
Every religion has its mysteries.
By the way, what a lovely dress. I give that they took her, like, not so good later. She looked kind of like a librarian lost in Salt Lake City later on. But she looks beautiful and smashing in the asymmetrical dress. I think they should keep going with this. But let's keep going.
One of the closest guarded secrets of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has been its wealth.
Oh, and by the way, this is actually totally relevant. I saw in an anti-Mormon account today, somebody was super pissed off that there was a young women's group that passed out this flyer from a fashion school somewhere in Salt Lake City as a young woman's activity that said, hey, know your body type. If you've got broad shoulders or wider hips or a skinny waist or a square face or maybe a triangular face, do circular glasses work for you? Do round glasses, square glasses work for you? Oh, should you wear dresses with A-line silhouettes? Should you wear dresses that are looser, more form-fitting? Like if you have these different types of body types, these are more flattering outfits that you can wear. Like, what a great way of empowering women who want to look better in a world that does judge you by how you look. No matter how you scold them, no matter how you get angry with them, okay? You'll notice it's the pretty feminists that make it in Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, if you can dress well and represent yourself well, you are no different than who's the guy that directs Family Feud? Really funny black comedian, huge guy. Looks like he could have been an NFL player or a NBA player. What's his name?
I know who you're talking. I can't remember his name. I know who you're talking about.
It's totally slipping my mind right now. But he literally has that monologue where he talks about get yourself a black suit, a cream suit, a brown suit, and then a blue shirt, a salmon shirt, and a black shirt. And then these pants, and these pants, and you'll have 64 different types of outfits that you can. Steve Harvey. That's it. Yeah. So they basically got the girl version of the Steve Harvey monologue, and they're freaking out, right? Meanwhile, in Hollywood, there's entire departments dedicated to this, right? So anyway, let's keep going and let's see what she's got to say.
Tonight, you will hear for the first time about its remarkable size from a former manager at the church's investment firm. David Nielsen says that during his 9 years managing money at the church firm, the value of its investments ballooned past $100 billion.
That would make it the largest treasure held by any religious fund in America.
Okay, whoa. All right, pause there. Hold on.
Okay.
All right, 60 Minutes. Here's some advice. Alternate headline. Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is the greatest investment body in the history of investments.
Yeah.
They either have invented AI or they literally have a prophet at their head. Warren Buffett is nothing compared. It's like a 300% return. This is like,
dude, they made
all the investors out there are like watching this and they're like, oh boy, I can't believe this is just so shameful, while they're Googling, how do I transfer all my investments to Ensign Peak? You know, they're calling everyone they know, every Mormon they've ever met, and they're like, how do I get Ensign Peak to invest my money? Oh, I guess they're just shaking their head. Oh, I can't believe that it's like 60 Minutes. That's the headline you should have been running with. Warren Buffett's nothing compared to the Mormon prophet, you know? But,
oh, that is too funny. Okay, so unfortunately on OBS, my chat is disabled really fast. I'm going to take a brief break to catch up on some super chats here because I saw that some people sent us some super chats. I will tell you, though, as I'm looking for those, Jonah Barnes, did you know the church made a 600% return on GameStop? Yeah, they made a 600% return on GameStop.
That should be the headline.
Yeah, everybody's jealous that they literally. Do you think that the 6 steaks a day, or sorry, the 6 wards a day, and the bazillion steaks every year that are getting opened up in Africa, do you think they're all paying in the third world of where there's literal failed states? Yet there's still missionaries walking around baptizing people. Do you think all those people are just money bagging it? Okay.
Yeah,
the wards that I served in Argentina, do you think they're money bagging it, building the stake center with their own funds? No. You have a bunch of North American people who are putting a bunch of cash in. There's a lot of Western European people. There's tons of very wealthy Africans that sacrifice large sums of money in order to improve the church in their area. But mathematically, it does not add up to the entire temples that they're building there, the infrastructure they're building there. And guess what? That's funded for people in other countries that pay tithing. And in order to be able to augment how well they can function in their welfare without bankrupting themselves, they make good investment decisions, such as 600% on GameStop.
And what are they supposed to do? So they collect $7 billion and they spend $6 billion on their operating. Then they have $1 billion left over. How did this conversation go? The guy walks in and he's like, all right, we have $1 billion left over. And they're like, well, what do we do with it? It's like,
okay, so
let's put it in a t-shirt cannon and shoot it out and please all the Antimos, or let's invest the stuff. Of course, they're going to invest the stuff.
Okay, so
it's a no-brainer.
Okay, so we got Diamond Dave here says we should trigger the libs by making an LDS version of Dubai. You know what? Actually, I'm in a campaign to no longer say libs because liberals are good people, and I am a liberal. All right. I would say the progs, the progressives, because they have commandeered liberalism and distorted it from the beautiful thing that it was once upon a time into this heinous Frankenstein, this Medusa that turns you into stone once you start reading it. So we should trigger the progmos by making an LDS version of Dubai. That would be hilarious. I mean, like fill in the Great Salt Lake with like a Deseret. Like, I don't know. I'm not a Utah-centric Mormon, but that's the only giant body of salt water outside of the Pacific Ocean, which with the Coastal Commission of California, you're not touching it.
Hey, we started Las Vegas, just for the record, people, okay?
Yeah.
We started the OG Dubai, all right?
And Jonah Barnes. Jonah Barnes, you sent yourself a super chat saying, dang, this guy in the stripes is awesome.
Wow.
Good job. That was a good one, bro. That was actually super meta. I dig it.
Hey, that was a dad joke.
It was
a dad joke. I'm channeling Radio Free Mormon with my dad jokes.
Oh, dude, awesome. That's good. Yeah. So here we've got Luke Hansen saying, I've been asking the Twitter peeps who keep saying they broke the law if they speed, and the reply is, that's different. Which is, it's so true.
It's so true.
They were giving a moving violation by the SEC for not having filled a form out correctly, which is the financial equivalent of, you didn't signal before you made that left-hand turn in the intersection over there. Give us $250 and you won't have to go to traffic school. I think 0.001% of the fund was like fined or something like that.
Now I know Jacob Hansen is watching this and he's going to get mad if we don't point it out. The church didn't break any law. There was no accusation of a law. There's no crime committed. They paid a fine, and it was the average fine for the fund. So it's not like when people who are alleging fraud and corruption and all these things, that wasn't even the accusation. Get your accusations right, at least.
Oh, okay. That's cool. That's cool. Speaking of which, I'm going to see if he can come in pretty soon here. Hold on. Oh, no. I accidentally pressed the wrong button. Something just happened.
It could be Jacobs with the young men tonight. They're studying.
No, he's going to jump in later. He's going to jump in a little bit later. It'll be fun. And also Brittany the Shadow is coming. I put her on the thumbnail, and she is coming as soon as. Yeah, apparently it's a big youth night. Ours is usually Tuesdays in the Beverly Hills 2nd Ward.
You know, I've noticed there's a lot of chemistry between you and Brittany, Carton. You should ask her out.
Yeah, I should. She's a supermodel. That's all I date. So anyway, okay, so let's keep going here. We've got some more evidence to bust up here and a couple more super chats. Thank you, Luke Hansen, for the super chat. Also, we got Danny Gray saying, I watched P. Eyring discuss his budget to buy an iPod for a birthday years ago. That homie Def doesn't have a Lambo. Yeah. That's, basically, I from what I understand, I mean, apparently somebody in the church office building leaked the most open secret known to man for the past 20 years, which is how much the apostles make. And if I remember, like 10 years ago, it was like $120K, which is nowadays the equivalent of $150K, which who knows, might be $160K now with Biden inflation that all the progmos cheer for. That's like less than a high school administrator.
Yes.
Like the community college down the street, the guy I know makes $250,000 a year. So
Legit.
I mean,
school board member, right?
Yeah. And Ziploc 95 says, we all know the real answer to this. You all seriously underestimate how many billions it's going to take to build New Jerusalem once the country collapses, but the church can't say that. Ha ha. Yeah, that's true. In the chat, let us know how much you think the church really has, because there's no way that the smile on that Waddell face, on that Waddell guy's face, when the so-called journalist tried to say, like, so what is a fair estimate? 150 million? 200 million? In the back of his mind, he's probably thinking, dude, you have no idea how much gold is in the Iron Mountain vault. He's like, dude.
He's talking.
Like, oh, man.
He's trying to hold back the laughter at this name. This woman doesn't understand finances. You know how I know? Because she took a job with 60 Minutes. That's how I know she doesn't understand finances.
Oh, 60 Minutes is not that bad. There's good people that work over there, and she looks smashing in that dress.
She does look good in the dress, though.
So anyway, look, let's go back. Let's go back. And let's minute by minute, we're going to burn through this thing. It's only 12 minutes long.
All right.
But instead of spending that money to do good, David Nielsen alleges it was used in ways that bent the law and broke his faith.
Wow. Okay, so David Nielsen alleges that they bent the law and it broke his faith.
So people listening, remember this. He alleges it used the money. Okay, this is how 60 Minutes starts. It says they used the money improperly. Okay. By the end, there will be not even a whiff of them even using it. They change it. They backpedal in their own story to say, well, they didn't use it. They just kind of saved it a lot. And we're angry about that for some reason.
And I just have a feeling we're going to see nothing but pure cry bullyism, where they absolutely demand that they're heroes that use nothing but vagaries in order to insinuate bad things that they would never participate in themselves. And I think it was the absolute reverse, because these people that always come at us like this, it's never that they saw something and then it broke their faith. They always started hating the church long before they exited and did this whistleblowing. It's not a chicken and egg situation. I mean, it's not an egg and chicken situation here. It's a chicken and egg situation. Okay. So anyway,
the chicken was always bitter.
But
the
then
egg
again,
was always nasty.
I censure myself. I've not talked with Guy personally, so I can't for fact know that, but I can speak in generalities through personal experience that has indeed been the case. So let's keep seeing what she says, and I won't interrupt so much. Here we go.
The story will continue in a moment.
Well, that was my childhood right there. That tick,
I
tick,
thought
tick.
I was going to work for a charity.
The ticking sound.
Look at this guy. He's so... I'm sorry. My BS meter is through the roof right now. I thought I was going to work for a charity. Just like I've seen too many bad actors auditioning for roles they knew they couldn't get, but they wanted so desperately. I've seen so many actors throwing themselves at me as a producer to get the role, or throwing themselves at the casting director to be able to be on the same soundstage as Brad Pitt for that one time, so that their dad, who wouldn't let them join the dance team in high school in Decatur, Illinois, will be justified when he gets the letter that I was on stage with so-and-so. I've seen way too much of that my entire life for me to think that homeboy here is really that troubled. Okay,
this is the divorce voice. Do you know this voice? This is the son. Your mother and I, we love each other very much, but we're getting a divorce. This is the divorce voice that he puts on for this interview, and it's a good thing because anti-Mormons need to rehearse that voice. If you know what I'm saying.
No, the whole narrative of cry-bullyism depends on it. So before we throw the guy under the bus, let's see what he has to say here.
I thought that's what my skills were going to do, was help build a charity and do good with things.
Okay, now, first off, I call BS. There's no way that you're a financial advisor smart enough to ask to get hired to run a multi-$100 billion hedge fund, not even a hedge fund, but a asset management team, and you don't know the difference between a charity and a cash cow that funds a charity.
Yes.
I am the closest living relative to Clara Barton, the founder of the American Red Cross. The Red Cross invests money in private institutions in order to amplify the amount of funds it has to do its good work overseas. That's very common, that a surplus will be invested in some sort of fund somewhere so that hopefully you have enough money to pay the bureaucrats that depend on you during those years when there's not as many donations.
Yeah,
okay,
who's the employee? Who's the employee who goes to an investment firm, walks into the boss's office, and is like, "I'm really concerned." Sorry, divorce voice. I'm really concerned that we're making too much money.
Yeah.
Well,
so let's let him continue here. Let's let him continue.
And the funds were never used for that.
Because it wasn't a charity. It was a fund for the charity. Okay, keep going.
It was really a clandestine hedge fund.
A clandestine hedge fund?
Yeah.
How so?
Those funds weren't used the way they were appropriated to be used.
So
literally, the Catholic Church uses 501c3 money to go into private hedge funds to pay the living stipends and the retirement funds of its priests when they're too old to function. Mitt Romney's partner got some of his investment funds from the Presbyterian churches. I just remember this from the debates in like 2012 or whenever it was. Some of his first investment money into Staples was like the Presbyterian church's money that they used for the retirement account of their priests. Like this is totally normal. He didn't sign up for the charity. He didn't sign up for a charity. He signed up to run, because of his Wall Street shark experience, a fund that is meant to gain money through private equity and other investments for the charitable aspects and regular function of the church, in addition to having extra left over for the second coming of Jesus Christ, which is the name of the church, as well as the rainy day fund. Like you did an interview with the Red Cross, bruh.
And this is the first time that the media has a sympathetic story to a Wall Street stock trader. They're like, he just wanted to do.
Look, she's about to kiss him
on Wall Street, and his story, and it's like.
Okay, so here we go.
Well, once the money went in, it didn't go out.
Yes, that's what happens with a savings account. That's what happens if you're doing it right. Money goes in, but money doesn't come out unless it's a rainy day. Or what's the rainy day they're prepping for? Jesus coming? Okay, I didn't get the memo that Jesus came, so it didn't come out for that. All right, world hasn't ended yet. But by the way, this idea that money's not coming out, that's kind of BS too, because the net export of cash from America towards, America pays for the function of the church internationally,
yes,
at large. So what this guy's saying is disingenuous.
David Nielsen was a senior portfolio manager for the investment arm of the church called Ensign Peak Advisors. In 2009, Nielsen, who says he was a devout Mormon,
was recruited away from a lucrative job on Wall Street to work for the
Oh yeah, and John DeLynn was recruited away from Microsoft by all of this Doreen fans. They just needed him. They needed him in the expo space.
I can't resist the will of
to
the people.
expose the baddies. Okay, here we go.
firm, a block from church headquarters in Salt Lake City.
You know this, Wall Street, you spend your skills working to make really rich people a little bit more rich, but there is something different about the prospect of putting your skills to work for something that you think is really going to build.
Okay, no, Wall Street makes a lot of rich people a lot more rich, not a little bit more rich. And this is one of the few things that I will say the church boomers do really, really well. They have very ethical investments. They have a very diverse portfolio. They stray away from child sweatshops in Asia, you know what I'm saying? And just like those really bogus things that you can very lucratively win money in, but they're very ethical investors in what they choose to invest in. And real estate, such as the West Creek Mall in a booming area where the land was cheap and flipping it could be very, very profitable, or like in GameStop where you can make 600% in a week, yes, they will engage in that as well as investors in charge of the investment branch. There's no smoking gun here. There's just common sense. Let's keep going.
The kingdom, it's really going to make a difference.
But Nielsen says he grew troubled by what he saw at Ensign Peak. He says the firm used false records and statements to masquerade as a charity.
Masquerading as a charity? Okay, I did not see their float in the Salt Lake City New Year's Eve parade or July 4th as demanding to be called a charity. Okay, that seems a little bit intense for me. Let's keep going, though.
Stockpiling money and misleading church members. Every year, the church collects an estimated $7 billion in contributions from its 17 million members. The church expects members to contribute about 10% of their income.
Okay, now just two things I want to point out here because they may be useful later. So they're saying about $7 billion a year comes in. Yet it looks like only about, I think we're going to find out later, it's about $1 billion gets set aside, which is about 1/7, which I would like to point out is basically 14-point-something%, more or less, okay? Which is right on par with David Ramsey's 15% recommendation.
Good call, good point.
Yeah, I actually looked this up the other day, but it's not squared very well because I just thought of this right now, and so I just had to look up the internet tab where it was. But this is from RamseySolutions.com, who's like a big time radio finance guru. And the title is, Why Should I Invest 15% of My Income for Retirement? And then literally down here, it says, believe it or not, it's your savings rate, the fact that you're actually investing money in every month that's most likely to help you have a successful retirement. The big takeaway is this: no matter how much or how little you make, investing 15% of your income will put you on track for a secure retirement. So if the church wants to practice what it preaches, the law of the harvest, fiscal responsibility, and financial independence being spiritual aspects of being a child of God and being part of the kingdom and so on and so forth, then we should be, as a good rule of thumb, putting aside about 15% of our income, according to Dave Ramsey, which is like spot on with what the church is doing. If it was like maybe 50%, I think, okay, that's a little bit excessive. We can maybe throw a little bit more towards New Orleans after the levees break or something like that, But they're literally right spot on with what is recommended by some of the most reputable financial advisors. And by the way, back when we thought there was only 100 million, Ed Thomas, a buddy of mine, all right, he actually crunched some numbers and found out that's like quadruple what Amazon does and their fund, Jeff Bezos does with his foundation towards charity. It's on par with Elon Musk, like quadruple what the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation does, so on and so forth. Now that people suspect it's 150 to 200 million, we'd have to recrunch those numbers. But this is all industry standard or better in terms of fiscal responsibility. So there's no smoking gun. All of the antis that were looking for a smoking gun, I apologize, you don't have one. Although if you do want to super chat us any of your challenging questions, feel free. You can super chat us and we'll read them. But so far, I'm not sensing any kind of smoking gun. I'm just sensing a lot of angst and a kind of like media that wants to have a slow news day catch up here, and a struggle bus full of anti-Mormons that want to try and flag something that's not there. So anyway, let's let it keep going.
A practice known as tithing. Explain how the tithe is supposed to be used.
Tithing is what's used to build buildings. It's what's used to pay the light bills. Tithing is what's used to operate some of the church's programs.
Whatever's left over, about $1 billion a year, is put into a reserve fund at Ensign Peak and invested.
Okay, cool. So there it is. There's the 1 out of 7. Also, I would like to point out, tithing is not 10% of your income, okay? It's of your surplus. And if you don't have a lot of expenses, that looks a lot more like your income. But if you do have a lot of expenses, your surplus goes down. So it's actually 10% of your surplus. And that's actually an important distinction, because one of the biggest anti-Mormon straw man arguments in this whole entire thing has been the definition of tithing, that the church demands 10% of your income. No, it demands 10% of your surplus. If you make $100, but you have $40 of expenses, the church doesn't demand $10, okay? You voluntarily give $6, because 6 out of 100 is what your surplus was. So it's a disingenuous argument that these people are making. Or, as Tucker Carlson mentioned earlier, it's a specific fact that has been left out. Could be due to their ignorance. I'm not expecting 60 Minutes to be theologians all of a sudden. But arguments circulated online around this are at best incompetent or misleading. So let's keep going.
Because Ensign Peak is registered as a nonprofit, it all grows tax-free. David Nielsen says,
well, the church at large is a nonprofit, and there's protections for church funds, okay? There's multiple private institutions that the church engages with, okay? I don't know the exact filing of the exact Ensign Peaks thing. I'd have to look into it, but there's plenty of subsidiary organizations to the church that are indeed profitable, because there's nonprofit, there's like 501c3s, 501c4s, 597Ds, like there's 15 different classifications here that all have small different isms associated with them. So broad sweeping comments like that, fine. I think they're just trying to inform the reader as best they can. But you almost have to be a forensic accountant to understand a lot of this stuff. Let's keep going.
Since it was created in 1997, the reserve fund has swelled beyond $100 billion.
Let's make it $1 trillion. Yeah.
Let's make it $1 trillion.
That's funny.
Hey guys,
Twice
share the
size
hashtag
of Harvard's endowment.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I shouldn't have pressed play right there.
I'm probably going to increase my tithing just because of this.
Yeah, seriously. So here we go.
Beyond $100 billion, twice the size of Harvard's endowment or the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
You could solve big problems with $100 billion.
And is that the thing that bothers you about all this?
So here's he says you can solve a lot of big problems with $100 billion. Okay, if you liquidated the entire account and did nothing but give it away, okay, which is actually ironically what Jesus said not to do when the apostles got angry at the woman who took the alabaster box and the expensive anointing oil and put it on Jesus. And she said, shouldn't that be given to the poor? And Jesus was like, don't bother this woman. Let her worship as she sees fit. The poor will always be among us. It's up to you to take care of the poor, not criticize her for how she does it or how she spends her money, So I'm sure this guy right now, he's about to suggest not how he could make $30 to $100 million off the whistleblower complaint. You know what I'm saying? If it were to get forced through because the court of public opinion demanded it. All right. No. He's about to talk about the vast amounts of charity that he's been engaged in. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure all of that is about to happen, right? Oh, there he is. Hold on. Shoot. Check your sound, Jacob. That's funny. He was on screen right when I let him in. So looks like Jacob Hansen is here. So
my gosh,
he's gonna have
beard of wisdom.
Yeah,
he's joined us.
Yes, you're gonna have to listen to us for a second before we officially invite you in. But I guess we've already given it away to our audience that you're here. So anyway, all right. So here we go. Let's see what homeboy has to say with all of the good that he's sure needs to get done.
I thought we were going to change the world. And we just grew the bank account.
Okay, first off, the most poorly acted fake. I'm disappointed. I thought we were going to change the world. I've seen made to way too many bad actors in Hollywood to believe that this is what the guy was worried about, okay? And second off, you know what I'm saying? You didn't think you were going to change the world. You thought, and you knew exactly for years, that the job of this fund is to fund all the other people that are actually changing the world. Bro, you were hired not because you had the patent on the newest, greatest wheelchair that was going to turn around the lives of millions of people suffering from some degenerative disease in South America. And the church just bought it and teamed up with the Wheelchair Foundation. And you got to go down there and give away 100,000 wheelchairs. No, that wasn't you, bro. You were recruited from Wall Street. You were literally dragged out of a Shark Tank and then stuck into the church's Shark Tank and said, go make money so that our projects and our welfare projects with the other people that have the patents for the wheelchairs actually have money. Because let me tell you, capitalist America ain't paying for this.
He's shocked that he took a job at an investment firm and they want him to invest.
Yeah. Okay. So
he's like, well, all I'm going to do is invest. Like, yeah, that's what we do here.
Yeah. So I thought we were going to change the world. Name me one hedge fund on the planet that's changed the world.
Yeah, honestly.
None. Okay. So Jacob Hansen, he's here now. You might as well introduce yourself, my friend. Tell us who you are really quick and give us your first thoughts on the last minute that you've seen.
Who are you, Jacob? Who are you?
All right. Well, for anybody who doesn't know me, I'm Jacob Hansen. I run a channel called Thoughtful Faith that unfortunately is a lot more boring than Midnight Mormons, especially according to Carden, who recently has been leaving such comments on my videos.
Well, he did have a debate with Bill Reel that he won.
It wasn't a debate. We couldn't.
It was a discussion. It was
he would not allow for a debate.
Okay.
And we specifically, he only agreed to even have a discussion if we didn't debate.
Mm-hmm. Look, you had a discussion in which you poked a million holes in his argument so badly that they bled out in 30 seconds. Okay. And intellectualism and intelligence was on display. You mopped the floor with the guy. You totally won. The only problem was that we have to wake everybody up now and tell them that you won. So, you know, like you did a good job, brother. You did a good job. It's going to be a little bit of work passing out the trophy.
I do also have to say, if anyone is just tuning in, you have to watch the full thing of this live stream to catch Jonah Barnes laying down the law on the viewership numbers of 60 Minutes. Jonah, I almost peed my pants when I was trying to put my kids to bed. I was listening to you and I almost wet myself.
Jacob, it doesn't take much to get you to pee.
Okay, so here we go. We promised a minute-by-minute debunking of 60 Minutes here, and I want to give it. So here we go. We've got David auditioning for the role of distressed bystander. Take one.
Did any of your former bosses explain how the money was going to be used one day?
The answer was always the second coming.
Okay. I doubt it was the second coming. It was probably building the kingdom, of which the second coming is a potential part. Like, that's the rainy day of the rainy day fund. But I mean, I don't think you were just a doe-eyed intern walking around the church office building saying, where are the millions we're making every day going? And then you just have a bunch of boomers saying, oh, don't worry, the second coming, bro. Second coming. You know what I'm saying? Come on.
Well, here's the other thing about that is, see, we know where the funds are going. The funds are going to fund the church in areas that don't have as much money, because the reality is that the church, the big savings account is basically if we look at the trends in the church right now, we see, where is all the growth happening? It's happening in Africa and the Philippines and the developing world. And guess what? Those people don't have a lot of tithing money to give. In fact, the U.S. the U.S. and Canada are the only countries on earth that actually are self-sufficient when it comes to the funds that they raise through tithing in order to fund their operations.
And not all of the stakes within North America are. Like, for example,
Yeah,
in California,
that's
many
true.
of the states that have absorbed a large quantity of immigrants, both illegal and legal, from South America, Africa, Eastern Asia, so on and so forth. Many of these states have become net bringers in of tithing dollars instead of net exporters of tithing dollars. That's happened to a couple of states around me.
So let's continue the trend over the next 200 years. If that trend continues and we continue to grow faster in areas of the world with less money, maybe it'd be handy to have some savings built up to help sustain the future growth of the church. Because eventually, if the area that is producing the tithing money now is growing at a slower rate than the other areas, that would cause an imbalance in the amount of tithing money available. Maybe they're just looking forward to the future.
You and your math. You know, this is American media here, okay? We don't have time for your fancy numbers, math.
Okay, speaking of American media, we got to make good on the promise to actually burn through this thing. So here we go.
It's a bit tongue-in-cheek, but deep down, I think a lot of the employees really did believe that.
What do you know? Employees of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints actually believe we're in the latter days and that Jesus Christ might at some point come, so maybe we should save a little bit for a rainy day.
Can you believe these Christians believe in Christ? I mean, what are they doing?
Yeah. Seriously, dude. Okay. So let's keep going, see what he's got to say.
Publicly, church leaders called it a rainy day fund. But in 2013, Nielsen says one of his bosses shared this document at a meeting that showed $1.4 billion from the fund went to a mall being built on land owned by the church.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, the mall thing.
It's an investment. He's an investor who doesn't know what an investment is.
These people
Real
literally...
estate's an investment.
Okay, I guess I can just show this now. I got this little list. Okay, I'll show you guys this little list that I got going on. I was going to write this funny blog article called like How to Be an Anti-Mormon in 25 Easy Steps. And I have to whittle down the 25 for 27, but I've been kind of keeping this list. You know, here's the anti-Mormon rules. All right. Rule number 1, anti-Mormons never refute scripture. They only fulfill it. All right. Anti-Mormon rule number 2 is that they only accuse you of that which they feel guilty of themselves. I think we're seeing that a lot here, you know. And then number 3 is, what does it say? Oh, you can't see it, Jonah Barnes, because you're on the Zoom. But yeah, number 3 says they have no new ideas. They only recycle old lies. We're at 60 minutes in 2023, and we're rehashing the City Creek Mall. I don't even want to say scandal again, because it's not a scandal. It's like, I remember, I think in rule number 25 is they never recognize, where is it? Rule number 25 is they never recognize natural consequences. Oh, come on, where is that? I can't remember where it is.
I'm sorry, I was just reading ahead and I saw it makes you unattractive rule.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it makes it before and after art school. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they hate beauty. Anti-Mormonism hates beauty, whether they're destroying a soup on Van Gogh paintings or whether they whether they're just trying to, I can't even say some of these words on the YouTube that they're trying to do to the youth and everything. So speaking of beauty, oh, hey babe, thanks for showing up. You got to turn on your camera though. They can't see your pretty face. As we're just talking about how anti-Mormonism makes you ugly. I was going to just switch to the hottest chick on the planet and prove them all wrong. You know what I'm saying? But your camera wasn't on. So you flip the
Ed's helping me.
Ed's helping you? Good job, Ed. Thank you.
I love Ed.
Yeah, we couldn't do it without you, my man. We couldn't do it without you.
Speaking of beautiful women, this whole thing kind of smells like the equivalent of, oh, she's so pretty. You know, oh, look at her, she's so perfect, right? These guys they're just so mad that the church, which isn't supposed to be worldly, is better at being worldly than they are. Like, we're better at making money, and we don't even want to make money. Like, we're trying to be meek and lowly and stuff, and yet we can't help being better than these people. So they're just, oh, she's so pretty. Oh, look at her, she's so perfect. I get those vibes from these antis.
All right.
Am I right, Brittany, or not? Is that kind of what it sounds like?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She's like, I don't know about this one.
I think so.
Okay, so anyway,
I'm hearing you, Jonah. I'm hearing
okay,
you.
so let's go back here. Let's go back here and let's keep going. Here's the indictment from the quote whistleblower.
And $600 million was used to prop up a for-profit church-owned insurance company called Beneficial Life.
Oh my gosh, they give so many claims for widows and orphans. Explain the Beneficial Life thing, Jacob. Do you got a beat on this, bro?
My understanding of it is that so here's the problem. If an insurance company goes under, who gets hurt? All the people that are insured by the insurance company. And so the fact that the church used some of its funds to prop up an insurance company, in my mind, it's like good.
For 100 years, Beneficial Life has insured all kinds of church employees, has insured all kinds of very important 501c3s and organizations in the state of Utah and abroad. I think they have thousands of customers throughout the west of the United States of America. And, I got to tell you, as a libertarian, and I'm not a fiscal conservative, I'm actually kind of a fiscal liberal. I understand the arguments of people that dislike bailouts, but let me tell you, I find it completely disingenuous that this brother, who I'm sure is a registered progressive Democrat, like you could take that to the bank, all right? That's always what happens whenever these guys go frickin' progmo or go anti-Mormon. It's always political, dude.
Wait, hold on. You said you're a fiscal liberal?
Yeah, I'm a fiscal liberal.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah,
You heard it here.
Yes, that is true. That is true. So I love tithing, man. I got to tell you, it's one of the principles I actually have one of the biggest testimonies in. So anyway, until I see blog posts where this guy is decrying the bailouts of Barack Obama, the bailouts of TARP, the bailouts of George W. Bush, the bailouts that consistently happen, the Marshall Plan of the Western that saved Western Europe from falling in the hands of communism. Like, until I see the blog post where this guy is decrying the bailout that America gave Western Europe post World War II, I just find it a disingenuous argument.
But it's not. Here's the problem, though, Cardin. This is tithing. This isn't taxes. This isn't some fund that we are in charge of as members of the church. We voluntarily gave the money over to the stewards of it, because we sustain them and we put our trust in the fact that the Lord has called them to manage these funds, and how those funds are managed is between them and the Lord. I ultimately, I may agree or disagree with things that they do, but they get to make the call, not me. When I gave up my tithing, they could take it into a back room and burn it for all I care.
It's true.
At the end of the day, tithing is about giving it up. It's not an investment. It's not a tax. It's, here, Lord, I care more about you and your kingdom than money.
Yes. And I will say that we oftentimes get spoiled, okay? We oftentimes get spoiled in North America with such a great political system that has so many different checks and balances to protect against all kinds of different corruption that exists in the general populace, that sometimes we forget what it's like to operate in a kingdom of baptized members that have made covenants to consider funds sacred. Now, does that mean there can be scoundrels in the church office building? Yes. On this show, we complain about them all the time. Does it mean there can be incompetence in the church office building? Yes. In this show, we complain about that all the time. And I will name names and generations. No, I'm just kidding. But it's hard sometimes. And this, I think, is a natural blind spot for many people. I'm not calling this guy out. I'm not calling out 60 Minutes or anything like that. I'm saying a natural blind spot that develops when you grow up in such a good political system is you forget what the essence of a kingdom is. If I give the kingdom and put into its treasury a widow's mite, the widow doesn't get to go to the king and say, I, king, demand that you go do this with X, Y, or Z dollars that I gave. If I give the kingdom an in-kind donation to their treasury, I can't then say, you can't go to war, or else, oh, you must go buy farmland, king. A kingdom is a kingdom. It's a monarchy. And that's a tough consideration for many.
If you want to dictate how your tithing money is used, you're not doing tithing right.
Correct.
You're not actually tithing. The whole point of the tithe is to let go of it.
Yes.
It's the act of letting go of it. Like, remember, in ancient Israel, they sacrificed the firstlings of their flock and actually burned them. I can just see the progmo standing by the outside going, you could have used that for the poor, like Judas did, right? To Jesus. But no, the purpose of tithing is the act of letting go of something that's important to you as a sign to God that him and his kingdom matter more to you than money.
That's right. This could be another filter that people pass through, who think that tithing, who treat the church like it's supposed to be a charity and this money is supposed to go to causes that I agree with or not. It was a stumbling block for this David Nielsen guy. If they had videotape of Gerald Cusset lighting a cigarette on $100 worth of my tithing, I'd be upset it wasn't a cigar. Like, I don't care. I don't care where it goes. It's gone.
Okay, so
it leaves me, it's gone.
We got some super chats we got to catch up with here. All right. So thank you everybody that has that has contributed so far to the show. This is totally great. Zachary Thornton, thank you so much. Just threw us up with the super chat. Danny Gray says, I bet this guy's really just upset because someone took his stapler and moved his desk. Oh, that is savage. That is absolutely savage.
I couldn't help but get the vibe that this guy was like, we all had that companion that we couldn't stand on our missions. Like, I just couldn't help but look at this guy and be like, he has the face of that companion.
Dude, you're so right. That's so funny.
Yeah, dude, that's pretty brutal. You missed out on that experience, Brittany. You didn't serve a mission.
Thank goodness.
But she's savage. But you probably would have. You probably would have had a couple of companions that you really didn't like.
No, I always thought missions did not sound good, so I never wanted to serve one.
Oh, ouch.
Sorry.
Rough. Well, they don't sound good if they're not explained well. But we're gonna have a chance to do a senior couple mission. Will you go on a senior couple mission with me, babe? I'm asking.
Yes, only because senior couples can choose where they want to serve.
And where would you choose to serve, Brittany?
Whoa, they can?
Yeah, and you can. I think you can choose for how long too.
And where would you choose? Where would you choose to serve, Brittany, if you had your choice?
Probably Europe.
Oh. I thought for sure she was going to be choosing the Polynesian Cultural Center and hang out over there in Hawaii.
She's like, oh, maybe Europe, like by the Trump
I could probably go to Paris for like 6 months.
Yeah. Jeez. Living up to every Southern California girl stereotype right now.
This probably isn't even the best live stream for me to be on because I actually don't like tithing either.
Yeah. But actually, that's why I brought you on, because we have diverse opinions on that. And who knows, maybe it will be germane to the conversation in a moment here.
I literally detest tithing. I have to have Cardin do it because it like makes me sick.
You don't detest it. You just.
But you do it.
You pucker up.
I probably don't do it right because I'm like, you do it, Cardin. I'm not doing it.
Oh,
you're doing it.
Yeah, no, you're
doing it.
You don't. It's not fair to say that you detest it.
Okay, that might be a strong word.
You are a much more frugal person that doesn't like any kind of robust expenditure. And
I hate spending money. I literally, Ebenezer Scrooge. I don't even like bank accounts. I want to have a stash of money in my mattress that I can like count and make sure no one stole it. Yeah. Or I'll like take a bath in it. I don't know, something crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, we're gonna keep going here with this debunking that's gone completely off the rails.
Sorry.
But it's all good. Palace One gives us another super chat. Says, love your work. Keep up the good work, with a big arm emoji. Thank you. And then whoa, Smooth Ruffian. By the way, I apologize I get so behind on these super chats. Today, OBS had an update that is not working on my system, so the super chats aren't coming up. I'm actually having to log into the internet back door of our live stream and look at them. So I apologize if I got a little bit behind, guys. But send us your super chats. We'll read them on air. If you got any questions, hit us. Then Smooth Ruffian says, thank you very much for the generous super chat. Smooth Ruffian says, hey guys, I love y'all and I'm an OG fan. I'm glad you are addressing this. I'm like, no duh, we are hoarding money because we are literally planning for Armageddon. Yay. Now, I would actually give a very only minor pushback on that, Smooth Ruffian. Being unfamiliar maybe with some of the religions that literally are kind of like death cult preppers, you know, we are nothing compared to them. Like there's literally cults out there that are buying compounds, fighting with the U.S. government. Like Kwaku's obsessed with these ones. Like I think one of them was Elizabeth Clare Prophet, who bought like a compound in Montana, and they literally prepped for when they thought Armageddon would come, and they amassed such an arsenal of weapons that like the Reagan administration was like checking in on them, making sure they weren't secessionists and stuff like that.
That's actually where I see Kwaku in 10 years.
I was about to say, if we lose Kwaku, we know where he's going to be. It's going to be in some compound somewhere. He's going to have some wild theories.
Yeah. So anyway, we're actually very much invested in the here and now. That's why we have such a robust welfare program. When you look at the 2021 report on how much charity the church actually gave, I mean, it is impressive. I was planning on talking about this a little bit later, but we can just talk about it right now. I mean, this is extreme. That the church in 2021 spent more than $1 billion subsidizing tuition and providing other financial support to Brigham Young University. I mean, it talks about $7 billion that comes in, then that $1 billion getting set aside is that 15% like David Ramsey suggests. Well, there's another $1 billion going into subsidizing tuition for, again, very poor students that come from outside of the United States of America. They can't afford the, $45,000 education that a 4-year university costs, just like BYU. And it also spent $906 million in 2021 on humanitarian aid and other aid to those in need in 188 countries. So there's the second of the $7 billion right there, providing both money and other aid to help, Ukraine's refugees. I mean, if you're all about that, boom shakalaka. Yeah, you got something to add, Ed?
Yeah, only because you brought this up to me earlier.
Okay.
This guy Nielsen, not Lars. Lars is the one that was excommunicated. Is it David Nielsen? That's this guy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
well, they kind of both did whistleblowing, and it's hard to see. Like David supposedly wrote the Washington Post and said, "My brother doesn't speak for me," and they oftentimes get misquoted back and forth because I think a lot of people don't realize they're twins.
Yeah.
But anyway, keep going.
Okay. So this got compared to the Harvard endowment. Oh no, it was the girl reporter. I'm sorry, the female reporter. She compared it to the Harvard endowment, and you had mentioned earlier, and I double checked you on this. Because I thought it was correct that both Harvard and Yale roughly enroll 45,000 people. All of the BYUs enroll, I think, 140,000.
And that's not to mention the Pathways program, which is international, the Perpetual Education Fund. There's so much that is unimpeachable in terms of what the church does to help people get their education and get their feet underneath them if they're struggling, that it's absolutely absurd to make any kind of insinuation otherwise. But anyway, let's keep going.
Does the money go to all of BYU campuses or just God's favorite in Rexburg?
Correct.
Wow. Shots fired.
Sorry, I just had a diet Dr. Pepper, so I'm feeling kind of spicy.
Actually.
Oh, okay.
It goes to I think per capita, the most expensive is my alma mater of BYU Hawaii. Go Seasiders.
Go Seasiders?
Well, that's why. Yeah, that's.
Is that what they're calling betas now, or what is?
Wow.
No,
is that what?
So yeah, go to BYU Hawaii and meet those big Tongan guys. And
yeah, I was gonna say I just angered a lot of Polynesians, and I don't want to anger.
They were the least. They were
actually those were the ones I was talking about.
Like,
I was talking about the blonde-haired wannabe surfers who couldn't handle the academic scrutiny of Provo, so they ran to BYU Hawaii, and just to try and become progressive.
I don't even care. I had a great time.
No,
Jacob, you're just such a midwit, Jacob. When it comes to intellectual things, you're just lazy.
Actually, what's totally funny is I love BYU Hawaii. I think the campus is lovely, and I wish they would expand it. Like, all joking aside, I wish they would take the extra 14 acres behind the LA Temple, get rid of some of those buildings from the 70s and the chapel there, and make it BYU California. I wish we would expand the CES system.
Do you know that the reason BYU Hawaii is the most expensive of the schools, one of the big reasons for that is because, well, that's part of it, but they're international students that go there. Remember, like more than half the student body is from outside the U.S. And so you have this and these people, believe me, I know these people. These were my friends, or some are my coworkers now. And these people live in countries where there is not opportunity like we have in the United States. And the church brings in these people from around the world and uses U.S. tithing dollars to subsidize a great education that these kids would never have the chance to have.
And do you remember when all of the anti-Mormons 6 months ago were like, yay, the Canadian BBC is doing an article about how, in order to get around some of the taxation credits of Canada, the church is giving some of the tithing dollars to BYU instead of to... Back on here, hold on. It's, okay, there we are. Are we back on?
YouTube is clocking.
Can you check really fast the live stream, Ed?
Yeah, I'm on there now.
Okay, you guys back on?
I see.
I'm looking at it.
Brother Barnes.
There we are. We're back. Oh,
Yeah.
it's me.
Oh no, OBS crashed. You know what's weird is that right now we've got the chat back on. So I think some kind of the automatic updates I was telling you about before were I think they finally just kicked in or something. It was bad. So anyway, okay, we're gonna go back to the super chats here. Diamond Dave says, "Let's go, Jacob." So he's excited that you're here, and we're excited to work with Diamond Dave, who also says, "Man, you guys are great. Wish I was on live with them. Glad to be one of those who helped set up the Jacob/Bill combo." Oh, is that true? Did he play matchmaker?
Yeah, he was pushing for it in my Facebook group, and Bill and I are actually having another discussion tomorrow. So everybody tune in tomorrow morning, or no, not tomorrow. I'm sorry, Friday.
Wait,
Friday morning we're having another discussion.
I thought you said Dillahunty. I was like, I would love to see you talk to
I
Dillahunty.
actually called into Matt Dillahunty's show. I made a video about him too.
I know.
That guy is.
Hey, can you ask him why he chickened out of our debate?
Who? Bill Reel?
Yeah. Like, I never really got an answer for. I need closure on our relationship. Like, I don't know where it is. What is happening to us, Bill Reel? Like, I challenged you, and then you challenge us back, and then we challenge you, and then you challenge us back, and then you didn't
Bill
show
Reel,
up.
look what you're doing to Cardin. Look what you're doing. Look at him.
Don't you care?
Look at the tears, Bill.
Don't you care?
Cardin,
Don't
what's
you
in your
care?
Gatorade bottle?
What'd you say?
What's in your Gatorade bottle?
I don't know, but it's working.
Yeah.
As good as whatever's working in your McDonald's cup. That's right right there in frame. That's pretty awesome.
McDonald's is
Dillahunty did to
Boom.
But Dillahunty did to Jacob what Bill did to you. Dillahunty was asked a perfectly good question and swore at Jacob and hung up on him.
Oh, hardcore. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's finish these super chats and then get back to debunking 60 Minutes here. Are you guys having fun in the chat? Let us know. Are you having fun? Are we boring you to death here? So, Brother Cheerio says there's a book called He Walked the Americas. Tribes from North and South America have stories of being visited by Jesus. New Stick of Joseph idea. Ooh. It's very interesting that you mentioned this because I don't know about that specific idea, but I do know that Hayden and Jackson Paul are bent on getting to South America for some of the Mesoamerican evidences that they see worthy of the Stick of Joseph's attention and production. So they're going to check that out, but they got to go to Egypt first. So they're kind of trying to follow chronological order of the Book of Mormon. And you got to get through the Holy Land first. You got to make it to Bountiful, and you got to cross the ocean, tight like unto a dish, before you can make it to South America. So anyway, Danny Gray also says Mr. Nielsen is Bill Reel's little spoon, just as he's little spoon for John DeLynn. It's a party now. Oh, that's funny. I should have read that super chat before I just articulated it on air. But I will tell you that a sandwich is a sandwich, Danny Gray, but a manwich is a meal. So yeah, you never heard that one before. Yeah,
Danny Gray is a legend.
Yeah. Okay. So here we go. I think we are all caught up. Yeah, we're all caught up with super. We're all caught up with super chats here. Okay. So anyway, let's go back to seeing what 60 Minutes had to say about us. With
you're literally not caught up in super chats, but
wait, I'm not.
No, I think there was
People
like
keep
4 or
giving us money.
5
People,
after that.
come on.
Oh, well then, can you read them off, Brittany? Could you read them off?
I don't know which one. Which one did you just read?
We just finished. We just finished Danny Gray's talking about John DeLynn and Bill Reel spooning some other guy.
Yeah, you literally have like 10 more to read, I think.
Okay, well, read them off really fast. Read them off.
Okay. Charlie just put A.
Okay.
Just thanks for that.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Charlie, you're credited another chat. Tell us in the chat what you think happened. So hit it.
Michael Kunkel. It is funny how anti-Mormons are upset at a church that people freely give them money, but are okay with governments that steal money and use it for poorly run monopolies.
Boom!
Ooh.
Mic drop.
Boom. Oh, you like that one, did you, Jacob?
Oh yeah.
Okay, why'd you like that one? Did she just trigger the libertarian in you?
Theft.
Oh, you're one of those guys, huh?
Oh, I'm definitely one of those guys because I
don't believe in good governance.
Because I know what theft is, and when you take people's property without their consent, that's theft.
Yeah, Richard Stafford.
I never consented to giving money to abortions, or to fund drone strikes, or to fund all sorts of things. But I did consent to give every penny that I gave to the church. And when I consented, I basically was like, look, you guys get it. It's all yours. You're in charge of it. This is my offering to the Lord. Goodbye. No strings attached.
You know, Richard Stafford says we should drop BOMs, bombs, Book of Mormons, not bombs, BOMBSs.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, which was, that was pretty smooth, Richard Stafford. Yeah. Shout out to the Mises Caucus, which he represents in California, our libertarian friends down there. Nice. By the way, I can throw you on camera more if you get the second light on so you don't look like a bad Frankenstein movie there, Ed. You know, I've been reluctant to put your face on camera because you look like you're interrogating somebody in Guantanamo, you know, which if you were, I would say you would be a menacing character, Ed.
Maybe Ed wants to look like that. Did you ever think to ask Ed how he wants to look on camera?
Well, I do not want, you know, there's billboards all over LA with Cardin's face on it, and I cannot compare at all.
Yeah, actually, I don't want the anti-Moe's scouring Los Angeles for those. So we shouldn't talk about them. You know what I'm saying? I used to be an exotic dancer. So anyway, yeah, you dig that,
still is on Wednesdays.
Used to be.
Yeah, used to be. It paid the bills. Anyway, catch us up with the super chats and we'll go back to 60 minutes.
Okay, well, hold on, because I scrolled and now I lost my...
Okay, well, then we're going to do just...
Oh, I found it.
Oh, you found it. Okay.
Okay, Jacob says, a word I can't pronounce. Alhamdulillah. I don't know what that is.
Okay, let me try and see if I can find it.
The true God is showing fruits of his generosity through investments of tithes. Hope we see the day of his son's return. Inshallah.
Huh, interesting. Okay.
I don't know what that is. That
I don't know what those
cool.
words are either, but yeah, hit the next one. Hit the next one.
All right, I gotta scroll. I'm on my phone.
Okay.
LatterDay Skeptic says, for having to deal with Jacob.
Hey, LatterDay Skeptic's back. Hey, what's up?
Here.
Jonah Barnes says, for Jacob.
All right. Hey, LatterDay Skeptic, he was saying he was poor boy broke yesterday. And now he's balling in the Midnight Strike Through Mormons chat.
$2.
Like, watch out, bro. He's becoming an elitist.
By the way,
he's becoming an elite, like at least mentally elite. You know what I'm saying? Like he's improving with every month. He's going to start going to church here in a second. You better watch out if he keeps participating like this.
And just by the way, that Alhamdulillah is Arabic for praise be to God.
So well, now I feel like a jerk.
Arabic Latter-day Saints in the chat, right on.
Oh, that's kind of cool. So that's cool. We need Rachel Patterson here to speak Arabic to us.
Sorry, I butchered your language.
Yeah. So, hey, I didn't marry her for your linguistic capabilities, babe.
Yeah, I know.
So, you know, so anyway, okay. Are we all caught up?
Nope.
Oh, geez, there's more. Hit it.
D. Carts says, for the Midnight Mormons.
Oh, D. Carts gives good comments. What's up, D. Carts?
And then Diamond Dave says, for Brittany's mattress stash.
Oh, you get to keep that one.
Yes.
You get to keep that one.
Best super chat. Best
After
fan.
you pay tithing on it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true, man. That's true. Tithing on the surplus. YouTube's going to take its 30%, you know?
Diamond Dave did not say whether I had to pay tithing on that, so.
Well, it's not Diamond Dave that dictates that. It's God.
Nope, I just said he dictated it. So.
Oh. That's funny. All right. So anyway, back to what's going on with our friends auditioning for Steel Magnolias 3. Our boy Dave.
Look, I'm not an expert on charities, but I've been around the block enough to know that charitable organizations can't bail out for-profit businesses and maintain their charitable status.
Well, according to who? There's massive protections in the U.S. Constitution for what churches can do with their money. That's a disingenuous statement, but half accurate. But just as our friend Tucker Carlson talked about earlier, all kinds of different context is always left out of hit pieces and media like this. So that's let to fly without context. Now, I don't blame them. At the end of the day, all media is narrative, all film is exploitation, and 60 Minutes has to pay the bills, and they don't pay it by boring people to death. They just unfortunately launched a nothing burger out of a restaurant that was marketed as giving a salacious pie of insider information. And in reality, it just ended up not hitting. Nobody gasped when they saw that. Let's keep going.
And so when they gave this money to bail out a for-profit venture, what was your reaction?
What are we doing? Like, how is this okay?
What do you mean, how is it okay? Like, why did we bail out Chrysler in the 70s? Because the U.S. economy was going to crash 3%, 4%. People were going to lose their retirements they'd worked entire lifetimes for. You can't say you're a progressive. You can't say that, oh, I just care. I wanted to change the world. You could do so much with $150 billion. Less than 2 minutes ago on this same broadcast, he talked about the power that money has to change people's lives. One of the things they can do is take them out of poverty. Well, if you impoverish them in the first place by allowing a company to crash, then you can't claim to be a progressive. So what are you? A heartless Wall Street shark that doesn't mind if a company that has hardworking employees in it goes bankrupt? Or are you that heartful, loving progressive? It's like, this is the problem with the anti-Mormons. There's never any kind of logical coherence. They either say Joseph Smith was a con man and that he was a charlatan and he was an idiot, or 3 seconds later in the same breath, they talk about how he was a hyper genius, just fooling people, and had actually done all kinds of clandestine, amazing things. Which is he, a bumbling idiot or freaking mega mind? You have to choose. So choose what you are, or else we start seeing through it. Why? Because if you're constantly taking whatever logical approach makes the church look bad, it looks like you are against or anti the church, that you've made your personality against that church, which makes you just what? A biased anti-Mormon, not a whistleblower. You're a whiner.
And it still comes down, it's still irrelevant, right? The money isn't going to the leaders at the top to buy Lamborghinis. It's going to this investment or that investment. I don't agree with their investment. It's like, you're insinuating corruption, and there is none. They don't have a yacht. They don't have a pool. They don't have a Porsche collection.
But who does have a yacht? Who does have a pool?
And the thing is that if you're making a good point, Jonah, if they're investing in for-profit businesses already with these savings, why not invest it almost in an act of charity to keep one of those businesses afloat? And if I'm not mistaken, it was given to the company, then it was paid back or something like that. I don't know the whole story behind it, but regardless, if they want to use the savings that they have, that they're investing in for-profit businesses anyway, in order to grow their funds, why couldn't they do something like that to bail out a company and save all those jobs?
A company that they own.
If you had given hard cash to those employees after the business went under, he would have been okay with it. But it's like, you do realize that by saving their jobs and saving all of the people who were dependent on that insurance to cover them in case of loss and all the other things, you guys, like, you're helping people here. He's on 1 second like, oh, I want to help people. It's like, we just help people, dingus.
Yeah. By the way, that was a very dad joke insult. Dingus? You're ready for high counsel.
You said that, Jacob. You know, your wife might watch this.
Okay, we're going to catch up on a couple super chats.
You guys, be nice.
We're going to catch up on some super chats, and Ed's got something to say. Zachary Thornton, hey, welcome to the Telestial Kingdom. He just joined. We got another member here. And then Danny Gray is back. Dude, Danny Gray. You know, this portion of the program is brought to you by Danny Gray, apparently.
Danny Gray.
You know, it says, wait a second. Jonah Barnes says he's broke. Then 60 Minutes interview comes out and suddenly has $2 to give to Jacob. Guess we know who Ensign Peak is making rich. Oh, I think he's calling out Latter-day Skeptic, not Jonah Barnes. Yeah, I think he's talking about Latter-day Skeptic, who said he was broke. You're the comedic writer. He's the guy that reads like a lot of Christopher Hitchens, makes dry videos against the Mormon church that nobody watches, and then kind of tries to regurgitate Atheist 2.0 stuff. But he's a really nice guy, and he has accepted the challenge to box Kwaku. However, unfortunately, due to his military service, he can't get in the ring and practice the sweet science. So we're waiting for him to get discharged. You know what I'm saying? We're waiting for him to get discharged. And then maybe he could left jab, which would actually be really kind of funny. However, we did figure out a loophole that we're going to see if, hey, Latter-day Skeptic, are you into this loophole? The Boxing Commission will not allow you to box as a member of the military. However, an exhibition match in sumo suits is not a fight commissioned actual thing. So if you are willing to don a sumo suit, Latter-day Skeptic, will you put on the sumo suit and the sock'em boppers and get in the ring with Kwaku El? Will you do it?
I would pay big money to see this.
I want to see Forrest in a sumo suit. Yes.
Jacob, would you be the referee?
Yes,
you have to be in a sumo suit.
Will, but I love both sides of the of that matchup, and
Can
so
we have Mortal Kombat
I will be
music
fair and
going on?
balanced.
Yes. What? Yeah. What's the soundtrack going to be? What do you want the soundtrack to be, babe?
Mortal Kombat.
Oh, Mortal Kombat. That could be very interesting.
I loved that movie growing up.
Really?
Yeah, one of my favorites.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So Gone with the Wind and Mortal Kombat.
I'm well-rounded.
Yeah. Okay.
That's very well-rounded.
All right. Awesome. Okay.
Bipolar.
So thank you very much, Danny Gray. And yeah, let us know. Do you accept the challenge? Latter-day Skeptic, will you rise to the sumo occasion? I'm not a very good WWE announcer. But anyway, and also, yeah, welcome. Welcome, Zachary Thornton. What a stud, joining up with us. Okay, so anyway, here's the rest of the video, the audition video for
Hey, real quick,
where the crawdads sing.
Just since you mentioned it earlier, and you were pretty fired up about this earlier, Beneficial Life, as you said, is literally the Widow and Orphan Fund arm of the church charity program. It's not just some insurance company that makes money. It's not, Chevrolet or Ford. It's the Widow and Orphans Fund.
Is it basically the church version of what insurance would do if it was covering a bunch of people that couldn't get as good insurance elsewhere? So the church created. It's like there's technically private canneries that the church will buy some of their stuff for the bishop's storehouse from, and they're technically private, but like they sell it basically at cost in order to help people out because it's a charity. Is that kind of like what's going on over there?
So that's a good question. It would be interesting to see the auditing on that. I don't know any of the auditors,
any of the details,
but your point still stands that you can't just let a company that looks out for widows and orphans go belly up. You just can't.
Okay, well, let's not deify an insurance company that I don't like. I haven't met every one of them yet. All right, so we're gonna find out about that first. But we're gonna talk about this guy and how he was auditioning for The Notebook 2. So Diamond Dave, before you jump in, says, so you guys will do this kind of wrestling, but won't do my bikini wrestling between Lady Expos and Lady members. Well, I didn't know that was a suggestion on the table. You know what I'm saying? I don't remember that one, Diamond Dave, but hey, if you can produce it, we'll film it. All right, bro? And he
Quality
says,
content incoming.
Yeah.
Quality content, guys. Watch out for it.
So I see how it is. I can audition to be the wrestling announcer, though. Wow, you found a way to put yourself in a mud wrestling match under religious pretenses. Yeah, that doesn't sound fishy, but awesome. And by the way, that's all the WWE is yet. I mean, and there's so much to learn from the WWE. So anyway, here we go. Let's finish this up.
I think it's time to go to bed.
Yeah.
We're getting a little crazy.
Yeah, so here we go. Let's finish what they got to say.
David Nielsen says he hit his breaking point in 2018.
Oh, his breaking point, it was so hard. His shelf broke.
After a website called Mormon Leaks linked church members to companies that existed only on paper.
Yeah, he was probably only 2,000 posts deep on Exmo subreddit, too.
Those shell companies held billions of dollars in stocks and bonds.
Like most investments do, like my 401k does. Okay, let's keep going.
Can I make a little quick note on this?
Yeah.
This idea of, oh my gosh, like the church owns stocks and bonds and things like that. It's like, this just shows that people don't understand how money works. Okay. Keeping your money as cash in a bank account is large sums of it. Once you start to get enough of it, is a dumb idea. It's stupid. And actually, the church did that in its history for a long time. And that was one of the reasons that the church suffered so much financially. It wasn't until the 60s with N. Eldon Tanner when they changed this and they began to diversify the savings, which is brilliant. That's exactly what you do. It is not smart to keep your money in cash form because that money will actually lose value over time due to inflation. But by utilizing various kind of investment mechanisms, you actually can take that money and grow it. And also, even if you give the money to the bank in a savings account, the bank goes out and takes your money and goes and invests.
And don't forget, people used to pay in tithing. Like I mean, people used to pay all kinds of different stocks and bonds as in-kind donations to the church. Like the church amassed an over 51% share in like ZCMI because you used to be allowed to pay in just stocks. And so people would pay in ZCMI stock. And the church ended up having like very large swaths of very large American corporations, so much so that people were thinking like, are you in danger of running afoul of some of these activism investor laws and stuff? So they just started liquidating them and then diversifying that. Like it sufficeth to say this comes across as disingenuous. So let's keep going. Let's see what else he has to say about the church.
What nobody knew outside church leadership was those assets were actually controlled by Ensign Peak. Nielsen says the firm called an emergency meeting.
What was the explanation?
These entities were to hide the assets.
Hide? If I put money in my wallet, am I hiding it? Or am I a responsible steward of my cash? That seems a little bit,
From the members. The chief
from the members.
Investment officer said that if we were to change and start reporting these securities in our own name, it would bring undue attention to the firm. And that attention would be potentially damaging.
How is it damaging?
Yeah. Well, no, he's absolutely right. Then you'd have all these. Can you imagine if word got out the church has these assets? Missionaries the world over would get kidnapped and ransomed, and people would start making
I thought he was saying that like the members would think the church is bad. I was like, no, like I think they're doing what they're supposed to. But you're
not
saying
the faithful members, but the members but there is a point where you say, look, it's not the members' job to manage the funds. Okay? If you end up going, hey, the church has a ton of money, all of a sudden everybody has an opinion on how it's supposed to be used. Yeah. But here's the thing. This is because people don't understand what the numbers actually are and what they mean. They hear a big number like 100 billion and they're like, oh, that's just like unlimited eternal money. And it's not, okay? The 7 billion that the church brings in a year, when you divide it by the number of members, that's $400 a year per member. Okay? I'm sorry. That's not that much money. Okay? And then that's the 7 billion they bring in a year. Now, let's take the 100 billion. That's roughly $5,800 per member. And so the church over the last 80 years, since the 60s when it was broke, was able to save up about $6,000 per member. And we're all supposed to be like, oh, this is crazy. It's like, to me, I'm kind of like, dude, that's all you guys could do over 60 years? Like, I know that for me and my family, if you give me 80 years, I can really amass some wealth through wise investments.
Yeah, we should be celebrating this.
$5,800 a person?
This is the gold standard of investment, not the whipping boy, not the town fool. This is the gold standard. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see what he has to say.
And after the meeting, I went and confronted him. What do you mean, potentially damaging? And he said, Dave, we're going to lose our tax-exempt status.
What?
I knew in that moment that I was in the wrong place.
Okay. I've never heard any reputable claims that the church was going to lose its 501c3 status. That's kind of just absurd, but keep going.
And resigned in 2019.
Look here
what'd you say?
If the church is trying to protect our sacred tithing from Caesar who wants to come in and take it so that he can fund wars and abortion. Yeah, I want the church to do everything that it can to avoid theft by the federal government taking our tithing.
Well, also, if there was something that they had run so far afoul of, they wouldn't have gotten the parking ticket from the SEC. Because at the end of the day, all of this boils down to a parking ticket that the SEC gave the church. Like, I mean, just like if I get pulled over for not signaling at a left-hand turn and I end up having to pay a $50 fine, the church got fined $1 million. The church got fined $1 million. That's it. Ensign Peak, I think they got four $1 million fines. So the whole total is only $5 million of a fund that has in excess of what some are claiming is $200 billion. That's less than a percentage of my yearly income than a parking ticket is. So this is a big
make it $1 trillion.
Yeah, make it $1 trillion. Yeah, exactly. So this is effectively a nothing burger. And the reason why I call into question this guy's motivations here is because it's going to go into this next segment here where you see this letter to an IRS director. I mean, please, that's obviously reminiscent of letter to a CES director, which is a popular anti-Mormon document, which is a way of signaling to the anti-Mormon community, hey, I'm doing this on your behalf. I'm one of you. Hey, I'm a good soldier in the anti-Mormon army. And there's no way he can get out of this. There's no way that he can claim that he's not an anti-Mormon if he's writing inherently online PDFs titled letter to an IRS director. That's a massive anti-virtue signal, okay? And if I'm accused of being a white supremacist and I say, I'm not an ethnocentrist, but then I publish an online PDF called My Struggle, which is just literally the English translation of mine ... the K word that the bad guy with the mustache used. I can't publish a book titled that without anybody saying, I see point A and I see point B and I'm connecting the dots. All right. So this guy writes a letter to an IRS director. Let's see how he's going to justify this one.
I knew in that moment that I was in the wrong place.
He resigned in 2019 and filed a 74-page whistleblower complaint with the Internal Revenue Service.
Okay, by the way, you'll notice that what's the rule I put on anti-Mormon rules here? I let me see right here if I can find it. Okay. Purposely misrepresent Utah culture biases as doctrinal flaws. Nope, it's going to be in this middle one here. Where is it? Oh yeah, the arguments are always unscientific with a veneer of academia, but lacking the verifiability thereof. If we go back into this right here, that was at the CES LatterDay. It looked like it was an awesome dissertation at BYU, annihilating the truth claims of the church. But then when you actually go look beyond the thin veneer and you see the wizard behind the thin curtain, you realize he was accidentally quoting like Nazi Egyptologists. Like so desperate to get a bad soundbite against the church, he was accidentally quoting the bad people with that bad insignia that they ripped off from India. So anyway, this is what he does. He writes a letter to the not the CES director, but letter to an IRS director.
And what happened? What happened with that letter? What did the IRS do?
Well,
the IRS, believe me, if the IRS could go after $1 bajillion that some church has or some group has, they're gonna do it.
Oh,
and you know what they did? They looked at it. They went, nothing.
Well, let me finish my thought. I was just gonna say that if you actually look at this, okay, remember how I said it has the thin veneer of academia, but lacks the verifiability thereof. This was obviously meant to look like what? A lawyer's document. You see with all the exhibits on there, with the lettered lines on the side. Anybody that's ever been involved with any kind of contract dispute in Hollywood or any kind of land claim dispute in real estate or anything like that knows that the documentation looks a lot like that. There was no reason he had to make that documentation look that way other than to give it a thin veneer of academia, but lacking, as you claim, Jacob Hansen, the verifiability thereof. So again, they don't refute scripture, they only fulfill it, and these anti-Mormon rules are just coming out guns blazing.
And remember, this is the genius who was an investor who didn't understand that a mall, a real estate development, is an investment. Now he's trying to parade as a lawyer.
Just like Lynn Wilder said, I was a Mormon for 30 years and I didn't know I needed a savior. You know, and you're just like, what? You were a member of our church for 30 years and you didn't know it was the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And the savior and redemption and atonement narrative is like central to our faith.
Yeah, by the way, if anybody has not seen the Allie Beth Stuckey, Lynn Wilder refutation video, that has to be one of my absolute favorite Midnight Mormons episodes. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch it.
Okay, we're going to catch up on 2 super chats and then finish this off. Meth Calf, thank you very much for the super chat. And it looks like Loaded Goat Acrylics just joined the channel. Thanks, Loaded Goat Acrylics. Here we go.
Alleging that Ensign Peak violated its tax-exempt status by moving money to for-profit businesses.
It's not just incorrect, it's flat out wrong.
Christopher Waddell says David Nielsen didn't have a full picture of Ensign Peak.
Okay, so Waddell's in the house. By the way, what building are they walking in? Do you know? I didn't recognize it. Let's keep going.
Waddell is one of 3 church bishops who oversees finances.
As a Christian church, we believe that someday Jesus Christ will return, but that's not why we have those resources. It's for the continuing operation and for the future.
David,
you know, this was the only L that I think the church took on this whole thing. Is I would just say, you know, the media hates you and they're trying to paint you into a corner of being a rich, white, patriarchal institution that hates women, hates, you know, is homophobic, Islamophobic, everything phobic, so on and so forth. I would consider it myself, possibly. I would consider it myself a faux pas to send in a dude that kind of personifies that, you know, that claim. I don't think that was the best move on their part, but he did a good job. I'm not here to say he didn't do a good job, but I want the fiery Latina that's in accounting that loves the gospel and is like, oh, you want to come at me with this, like, you know, identity politics? Bring it on, dude. Because I got to tell you,
should have sent in Rachel Patterson with her new baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Just ready to throw down.
Dude, I want to see the Latina woman from accounting run after David Nielsen with her chancla in her hand.
Well, that's redundant to say the Latina woman. Latina is the woman because it's a gender.
Well, it could have been a Latinx woman.
That's true. We didn't want to assume. And the second thing though, is that I can testify to the efficacy of the Latina because I live in California and they are the ones turning this state around. Let me tell you, this state vilified the patriarchy for so long that all of the retired blue collar white guys finally sold their house for $3 million, moved to Texas. There's no more white people left except for those of us that are bolted to the ground because we work in Hollywood, aerospace, or some kind of licensed trade that requires a California license. Okay. We are now by far the minority. And now that they can no longer blame us, it's the Latinas that are showing up to the rallies and the meetings, and they're the ones in the school board meeting saying, how dare you try and teach this garbage to my kid? And you see those bureaucrats here who, like Pavlov's dogs, have been so used to being able to just say, get your racist arguments out of here. Oh, get your racist arguments out of here. Oh, you're just racist. They're so used to just being able to shut people up by calling them racist that they sit there and they're like, what do we do? It's Latina. It's a woman. What do we do? Do not compute. Do not compute. Resign. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's the only thing these guys know how to do because they've literally trained themselves and boomers for so long allowed it to happen that now it's changing here in California. So when you guys pick it up in Utah, Idaho, and Arizona, there is hope. And the hope comes dressed as a Latina. You know what I'm saying? And she's turning around. I love these ladies. So let's keep going.
Hey, real quick, and this is why all the anti-Mormons are scared to death of Guadamax, because Guadamax is coming at them with truth, not with all this.
Well, she did mess up on a couple of things. I call it Jim Bennett an anti. You're saying Guadamax did nothing wrong. Well, I ain't relitigating that on a live stream. I got to get through 60 minutes first. All right, you know. So here we go. Let's see what the patriarch has. I'm sorry. Let's see what the presiding bishop has to say. It's the only faux pas I think they had. It's the only faux pas, but he does well. He does well. Much better than they misrepresented in the trailer, by the way. Let's keep going.
Is one of 3 church bishops who oversees finances.
As a Christian church, we believe that someday Jesus Christ will return.
What do you know? The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That seems, internally coherent.
But that's not why we have those resources. It's for the continuing operation and for the future.
David Nielsen alleged that Ensign Peak violated
Pause it
his
there.
Okay, yes.
He's saying exactly what I've been theorizing, what my explanation to this has been. Why the church has such a big savings account is because they're playing a game looking at the next 200 years of growth in the church. And if the current trends continue, we're going to see a very difficult situation where we're going to have a lot of members who don't have a lot of money. And having a big savings account, not that big of savings account, $6,000 per member, everybody, is perfectly reasonable and sensible to have in place. In fact, I want to make it bigger because I don't think 6,000 a member is enough.
And that's
Jacob Hansen is just flexing. He's just flexing on everybody because obviously Bishop Waddell watches Thoughtful Faith. I saw what you were doing there, Jacob.
Hey, Carter.
We all saw what you were doing.
He should have said it the right way.
Yeah.
He should have
just copying.
The thing is this whole thing looks dumb. When you break down every number that they say in this thing by per member, you start realizing these numbers are not big or scary at all. The savings they're putting away every year into savings, of the $411 donated for the members, only per member, 53 of those are going into savings. All the rest of it, what's it being spent on? It's being spent on the rank and file members and most of the members that it's getting spent on are the ones in places like Africa and the Philippines.
It's interesting you say that because that $6,000, and I'm going to get to you, Brittany. Are you going to read the super chats? Is that what you're getting at?
I have a comment.
Okay, well, say your comment, and then I'll say mine. What is yours?
Oh my gosh, you guys
Ladies first, the prettiest one. We talk a lot. Yeah, we are a
Can't
podcast.
get worded.
We got to mansplain with the other patriarchs.
Yeah. No, I was saying, do you think the church is going to take a page out of Andrew Yang's book and do some UBI for the members?
I actually think what's really interesting is we'll have to have a conversation on that, Jacob Hansen, about universal basic income and the scriptural basis for it and the conservative basis for it. I think the church is prepping for UBI, bro. You can say no. You can say no and be wrong.
Let's set that one up, man. Let's brawl over that one.
I'm sorry, dog. I just like quoting, Thomas Sowell, and I like quoting Ronald Reagan, and I like quoting Milton Friedman, who all were fans of universal basic income. But you can take your 1980s Cold War republicanism.
I'm telling you right now, if you want to know the truth, if there ever was a nearly infallible prophet of economics, and just generally, it's Thomas Sowell. Thomas Sowell solved like everything we all debate about in economics and stuff. I feel like he solved it all in the 90s to the point where I'm just kind of like, why are we even still talking about this?
And he loved universal basic income and the game of Monopoly, which is an example of universal basic income.
Whoa. Look, guys, this stream is about debunking the 60 Minutes. If you're going to argue economics, you better be wearing sumo outfits when you do it.
Okay, exactly. Did you hear that, Latter-day Skeptic? Did you hear that? So, okay. Anyway, Loaded Goat Acrylics, thank you so much for your super chat here. It says, here, have some money. It's part of my tithing, so you're complicit. Oh, my gosh. He got us. He got us. We are now complicit in the patriarchy. Also, Jason Hosking. That's a cool name, and I like he's got his own personal logo. That's actually a pretty sick avatar, bro. Says, Midnight Mormons and Thoughtful Faith, you guys are doing great things and have the approach to the gospel I wish most would. Keep it up. What do you have to say about that, Thoughtful Faith / Jacob Hansen?
Thank you very much. I think we're trying our best, and everyone has their part to play in different ways. So
that was a euphemistic, boring answer. You're supposed to say, whoa!
Yeah, Carter, that's your role to play this. See, like I don't have that. I wish I was as cool as you.
Just try it. Just Joseph Smith did nothing wrong. You got to try it, dog.
You look
Okay.
like Alex Jones right then.
What? What'd you
We're
say?
gonna get clipped.
What'd you say? I look like Alex Jones?
You look like Alex Jones. And kind of sounded like him, too.
You know, that's if we had a little bit more time on the stream, I would pull up that clip. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But okay, so here we go. Thank you very much, Jason Hosking. Okay, that was pretty awesome. So let's keep going here, seeing what homeboy Waddell says.
For the continuing operation and for the future.
David Nielsen alleged that Ensign Peak violated its tax-exempt status by directing money to church businesses. How would you characterize how that money was used?
The church actually owned Beneficial Life, and fortunately, the church had the resources to bail out Beneficial Life during the financial crisis, 2008, 2009.
Wow. The only institution that wasn't bailed out by the U.S. government on the backs of the taxpayers. Wow.
Truth.
Holy smoke.
Facts.
You'd
It's
almost
true.
think that just like Jacob Hansen says, Zion is emergent. If you're doing it right, you end up bailing out yourself and your own people. It's crazy. Anyway, Sharp-Tooth Tuna. Now that's the coolest YouTube name I've heard in a long time. All right.
That's like Land Before Time. Sharp Tooth.
Oh, is that what it is? Is Sharp-Tooth?
I don't know.
Yeah, but Land Before Time, that's a solid movie reference, babe.
That was a childhood trauma movie for me.
Oh, really?
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Oh, was it when the mother died? Like,
yeah.
oh, the first time I cried was in Old Yeller, but The Land Before Time was very sad too.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, Sharp-Tooth Tuna says, thank you for this channel. I found it and I really appreciate it. You know what? Well, we really appreciate you, Sharp-Tooth Tuna. Okay, and Diamond Dave says, all joking aside, you guys are great and I started praying for you every day. We could use it. We could use it, and we're still going to build that temple in Minecraft, you and me, Diamond Dave. All right, thanks for doing this. Yeah, you know, we love doing this, and it's just fun. You got to laugh at the devil. You got to laugh at the devil and his lies. And there's a couple of lies that are getting channeled right now through 60 Minutes. So we're just going to finish debunking them. Let's see what's going on here.
In the mall?
The mall was not a bailout. The mall was an investment.
And you are receiving returns on that
absolutely.
investment.
Yeah, because guess what? We're good at it.
Love it.
We're
He's just
good.
like, yeah, we're receiving returns on it. You better believe it, baby.
Yeah, yeah. Like, yeah, it was an investment. What do you expect? And we make returns because we're good at investing. And like, they made 600% on GameStop. 600% on GameStop. So yeah, they're gonna make a couple billion on a mall they spend a couple billion on.
He should have looked at her and been like, I said investment. Like,
yeah.
You do realize what an investment is, lady.
Does anybody here know what they're talking about here? We're talking about investments, right?
Why are we like, huh?
Do you recommend the use of the pejorative lady? Should it maybe doll, broad? Is that what you big fat mansplaining patriarch? Good job getting yourself clipped.
I'd love to see Bishop Waddell be like,
listen,
look, Rod.
Yeah, just like, come on here. What are these dames talking about? Hey, you know, they gotta ruin the production. Hey,
look, Chica.
Hey, have you guys ever heard? Have you guys ever heard Scopes or Swopes? Or Scoops. Scoops Callahan is the name of. You have to look up Scoops Callahan. He's this guy that has his own blog and he gets press passes to all kinds of different sporting events, and he talks like a 1920s radio host. Like, and he's gotten popular enough now that he used to kind of surprise people with how he spoke, but now they're starting to recognize him. Like, who's the guy that married Gisele Bündchen? Tom Brady. He asked Tom Brady, he's like, hey, what's there, sport? I saw you throwing the pigskin around and you were doing a great job there, just running the end zone. And he was like, yo, what's up, Scoops? You know what I'm saying? Like, the guy's pretty funny. So I want somebody to show up in the church office building and be asking folks like, it's quite a doll of an account you got there. And you got all these ladies here calling you out for making all these bad investments. What do you say about that, doll face? You know, it just like sound like you're straight out of the Manchurian Candidate or something like that with Frank Sinatra. So anyway, we got a couple more super chats here. Erica Lowe says, Cardin and Brittany. Oh, no, you got to read these. You got to read these, babe. You're the super chat queen.
My phone died.
Oh, your phone died.
And this monitor isn't on.
Oh, well, you got to turn the monitor on, babe.
I don't know how. I'm a girl.
Okay, well, Ed's going to help you out. Ed's going to help you out.
Ed.
Yeah, you're on it, Ed? Thank you, Ed. So anyway, says Erica Lowe says, Cardin and Brittany, fellow cancer mama here. Oh, bless your soul, Erica. You have walked a path that I would not wish upon anybody. I missed the last stream, but I absolutely want to do an episode with your daughter telling about her cancer miracles. I can share hers too. Oh, you are welcome. The veil is thin in a children's hospital in a way that you will never disbelieve the existence of God and his love for his children. And my daughter just got up and bore her testimony. Okay, we're talking about a 7-year-old says, Dad, I want to go up there. And she went up there. She didn't know how to start. She didn't know how to end. She didn't end in the name of Jesus Christ or any of that stuff. She just got up and she said, what I want to say is that Jesus loves all the little children, or all the children. And then she walks off. And I was like, bam, that was a mic drop right there, dude. So Erica Lowe, you know, I'm glad to do that. And we'd love to have you on. And yeah, thanks. So anyway, back to where we were with Waddell bragging about their efficacy and what they claim to do, investment.
Waddell says the insurance company has paid back most of the bailout money, but the church would not disclose the details of that deal or the mall investment.
By the way, have any of the other bailed out institutions that gave golden parachutes and $50 million, $75 million, $20 million bailout packages to executives who quit the company after getting them, did any of those companies pay them back? GE hasn't paid taxes like 2 out of the past 5 fiscal years, let alone paying back bailout money if they got any. The Los Angeles Lakers got freaking small business loans during COVID. They got $23 million in SBA loans. You know, it was only after the court of a public opinion straight up like put them in stocks in the public square that they had to pay some of it back. You know, what were you saying, Jonah?
Somebody in the chat was just, and I can't find it, so I'm sorry to not give them credit, but they said, it's funny, 60 Minutes chooses to do a segment on the LDS Church and their investments searching for corruption when they don't do a story on Nancy Pelosi's incredibly lucky stock trades.
Oh, yeah,
all these politicians are getting rich, and nobody really knows why. Yeah, don't do a story on that.
Honestly, that's almost like the bigger story in all this, is the fact that 60 Minutes is doing a story that really could be summarized as a church rises from poverty and oppression and privately saves $6,000 per member over 80 years. And that's their big story, rather than like Epstein's travel logs and like you guys, like, you want to talk about things to investigate. Like, this is nothing. This is the biggest nothing burger ever. But
the church got a parking ticket. But the church got a parking ticket. It was issued a parking ticket. You're just racist, Jacob Hansen, and you have a beard, so you're a patriarch. So, okay, cool. So let's let him finish here.
Unlike other nonprofits, religious organizations don't have to fully disclose all financial information to the IRS.
What is the value right now of Ensign Peak's assets?
Oh, that's a stupid question, Axe. Hey, Jacob, how much money is in your wallet right now, bro?
Yeah.
Yo,
I love his answer, though.
No, but tell me right now, how much money do you have saved away for your retirement, dog? Yeah. How much money? How much money is your wife's insurance policy? You know, if she dies,
Waddell should have looked her straight in the eye and been like, "How much did that plastic surgery cost you?"
Oh, savage!
You should have been like,
"Savage, bro, savage, man." What'd you think of that? Was that beyond the pale, Brittany? Did he go too far?
Don't knock plastic surgery.
Yeah.
It is God's gift to women, all right?
That's funny.
Yeah, spoken by someone who's probably never going to need any ever.
Yeah, my wife is perfect.
Unfair.
Straight up perfect.
I will take that to the grave.
Yeah. All right, so here we go.
Yeah, that's something I can't share with you right now. I know there've been reports on.
By the way, look at how he's smiling and laughing because he knows the reports are a drop in the bucket.
Approximates and that kind of thing, and that's as far as we can go right now.
It's been estimated at $150 billion. Does that sound correct?
That's an estimate that some have made.
Make it a trillion!
Make it a trillion! Make it a trillion! Make it a
You have no idea, lady.
I know, he is. He's like,
there's Jacob Hansen calling him lady again. Come on. No, I'm just kidding, dude. So, I mean, dude, that smile is the smile of the guy who finally worked whatever 25, 30 years long enough it is in the CIA to know exactly who shot JFK, and then listens at the dinner party as people guess, was it the babushka on the grassy knoll? Was it the Cuban expats? Was it, really Lee Harvey Oswald? That's the look of the guy that's 45 years deep into the CIA and knows exactly who actually shot JFK and is listening to all the jokers, surmise, but he's got the right answer. So he knows there's like 500. He knows there's 1 trillion or whatever it is, but he ain't giving it up. This is hilarious.
Are we in the ballpark or no?
We have significant resources.
Give us a sense of what percentage is going out the door of the money
Hold on.
Okay.
Anyone who's been to the temple
I was just thinking this.
Might have thought of the line when he said that. I couldn't help be like, I think he's signaling to us a funny. We have sufficient for our needs.
Well, or he could have been like, well, in this world, you can buy anything with filthy lucre. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
Guys, do you see the meta here? This is the devil asking the representatives of God, and he's saying we have sufficient for our needs. Look, it's replaying. It's an echo of the temple.
It fulfills scripture, right, Cardin?
Oh, dude. Oh, are you calling out the 25 anti-Mormon rules that they never refute scripture, they only fulfill it? And I'm going to give you some credit here, Jacob Hansen. We're going to pull that up really fast. What is anti-Mormon rule number 1? Anti-Mormons never refute scripture, they only fulfill it. RFM quoted Cain in our debate saying, I am not my brother's keeper. And then now American media literally just how much money do you have? And then Waddell's like, sufficient for our needs. It's just like freaking, you can't make that cheese up, man. Oh, this is too hilarious. Okay, we got another super chat here from Sharp Tooth Tuna. Says, thank you for this. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. That was a repeat. I apologize, Sharp Tooth. It stayed on here because you gave us a very generous super chat, so it stayed up there while the others faded away. Thank you. Anyway, okay, let's keep going, seeing what Waddell has to say. Daddy Waddell.
Management.
To be honest, we never looked at it as a percentage. We looked at it based on needs to make sure that we're comfortable with how many years worth we have in case of financial difficulties, in case of financial crisis, to make sure that we can continue church operations. We just want to make sure that is sufficient.
Pause it real quick.
Okay.
So D. Michael Quinn was excommunicated from the church in the 90s. Definitely a critic of the church, but a good faith critic of the church. He's one of the ones that I actually admire in many ways. And D. Michael Quinn did the biggest dive into church history before he was excommunicated on the church's financial history. And he came away with it saying it's like one of the most faith-promoting things in our history. If people want to check out my channel, you can look at my videos on church finances where I go through his interview where he talks about some of this stuff. One of the things that he mentions in that video is that the church's oh man, I just lost my train of thought. He was saying though that the church has a if there was a significant economic depression to happen in the church's reserve funds are the only thing that the church could run on. And the thing is it would not last very long. If you're talking about $6,000 per member, that's not very long that the church could operate if there was a severe economic depression. Now, here's the question. What is the chance in the next 100 to 200 years of a severe economic crisis hitting the Western world? Look at the U.S. levels of debt. Look at the all of the things going on in the world. The church to be prepared with a significant rainy day fund for the next depression that comes along. We're playing the long game, guys. We're not like your politicians who are just playing the next 4 years to get reelected.
But why can't you be broke like all of our progressive Democrat institutions are that were used to be able to influence through shame-based narratives and insults online? Why can't you be like them so we can control you?
And just to add a personal anecdote to this, so I in my calling, I do handle tithing funds, and just last month there was it was literally like 10 cents. It was a dime that fell out of an envelope And the stake auditor came and he said, "What's going on?"
Oh, I don't believe you. You stole it.
I mean, legit, like, people don't understand, like, this organization defies all norms. It defies all of human experience. They handle so much money, and they do it honestly, cleanly, purely. Not a dime of it gets usurped or stolen or whatever. They are so careful with these things. It doesn't matter if it's $1,000 or if it's a penny. The church audits it all at every level because they consider it all sacred. That penny is as sacred as a $50,000 donation. It's inspiring to watch how the church does this. Just my own personal
and D. Michael Quinn, his thing was, when he looked at all this, he said, when you look at the church's handling of its finances throughout its history, it's one of the most faith-promoting parts of the church. When you have the church facing all of the hardships and all of the things that have happened, and none of the leaders ever took advantage of it, and it's incredible. And he is someone who is excommunicated from the church, has been very critical about the church of various things, but he's honest. And he basically said to the whole world, hey, all you ranting anti-Mos, don't go after him on this one. The finance angle is not one that you're going to find dirt on the church.
Okay, so we got a couple of super chats we got to catch up with here. This live stream is going awesome. Before we forget, everybody make sure that you like this stream. You can share it with your buddies. You know, hey, the anti-Mormons aren't showing up very well in the chat, you know, making some weak arguments here.
They're coping.
They're coping. You know, I think you need some help. So you can tell all your other anti-Mormon buddies, hey, they're ripping us to shreds here over at Midnight Strike Through Mormons. And I'm running out of disingenuous arguments. Nathan Bigelow only lasts so long. You know what I'm saying? I need help. Brigade the chat.
Carden, sorry. You have to see. Richard Stafford just said, at Midnight Mormons, funded by the Uchtdorf Family Shared Checkbook Foundation. I got that reference.
He's touching a sensitive topic there. He's touching a sensitive topic. Okay, well, Brittany, can you catch us up on a couple of super chats here?
Yeah, what was the last one that you read? Do you remember?
Zachary Thornton joined, and
we read Erica Lowe. Did we read Ziploc?
Erica Lowe was the last one. I do remember that.
Okay. Ziploc 95 says, funny how 60 Minutes will do a story on the church's finances and not Nancy Pelosi's incredibly lucky stock trades.
Yeah, that's true. We did just barely talk about that. He hit that up right there. Okay, what's the next one?
Hold on, I'm scrolling. Pablo says, good night. Say it back.
Oh.
Good night, Pablo.
Yeah. Good night, Pablo. You know, Pablo, are you in Miami? Because it's like 1:30 there. You're hardcore for having lasted this long with us. I'm sure you got work in the morning.
Dude, I'm hardcore for lasting this long.
Yeah, good job, babe. Good job. So anyway, keep going with the other super chats.
Okay,
hit us up.
Sharp-Tooth Tuna. Freaking love that name, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you for the call out. And yes, it is from Land Before Time. We have a dog named Ducky and another cat named Petrie. Aw, that's cute. Sharp-Tooth Tuna is my new favorite follower.
Oh, you just got fave followed there.
I loved Land Before Time. I used to walk around in my backyard like a little nomad child and look for tree stars.
Oh, that's super cute.
Yeah.
Did you roll them up like Petrie did and go, yeah?
Maybe. My favorite was Sarah, though.
Sarah the rhino?
She's a triceratops.
Oh, I stand corrected.
Geez, careful,
know your
man,
dinosaurs.
Careful. Yeah, seriously. Okay, cool. So anyway, let's keep going. Let's see what they got to say over here at 60 minutes. 60 minutos.
Nielsen says he did not intend for his complaint to the IRS to become public. But in 2019, his brother shared it with Washington.
He didn't.
He Exmo virtue signals, and then he's like, I didn't want this to go public. Like, yeah, right. Take a break.
Oh, please. Look, let's go. Okay, we're at timestamp 7:49. Let's go back to the name of his whistleblower complaint. It's called The Letter to an IRS Director, which is an obvious ploy off of the #1 anti-Mormon document online called Letter to a CS Director. Are all the anti-Mormons and progmos and exmos this absolutely disingenuous and obviously you can't make this up?
They are liars.
Well, yes, that's they. Are you saying they lie in wait to deceive?
That's exactly.
Are you saying
what they
fulfill Scripture?
They are Luciferian.
Oh, well, I wouldn't go that far. I think there's many that are just misled.
That's because you don't get it.
But in that, oh, wow, dude. In that lighting, Ed, you look superb for the role of what you just said. You know what I'm saying? But I don't need YouTube clipping us. All right. So anyway, let's go back to 7 minutes and 49 seconds here. We're almost done, guys. If you got any more burning questions, any other super chats?
There's another super chat.
Oh, there is? Okay, cool. I was about going to say, yeah, before we run out of time, we got to make sure we hit the last super chat, babe. What did they say?
Okay, Danny Gray. Jonah, this one's for you. He said, Jonah, confirm, is your Lambo a Hot Wheels or a Matchbox?
Oh, he calling you out, Jonah
You know,
Barnes.
the church pays us here at Midnight Mormons very, very well. I just want all the antis who are clipping our show to know we get tons of money from the church, from tithing funds. People pay.
Okay, well, no, it's not
into our pockets.
Okay, it's not fair to say that we're paid through tithing funds because technically the City Creek Mall Fund that pays the 6-figure income to this show comes from investments from games. It's not from tithing, it's from investments. So the 6-figure income that I make and the 7-figure budget that the show has is a direct derivation.
It goes towards my Louboutins.
It goes towards the Louboutins that you see on Twitter. Speaking of which, if you don't follow us on Twitter, you can follow me at Cardinellis on Twitter. You can also follow at Midnight Mormons, which is M Mormons, which will soon to be rebranded. So you better get in now. Also, if you haven't liked this stream yet, make sure you like it and subscribe so that you guys can be caught up in all the different nonsense that we're engaged in right now. But
and
let's
also subscribe to Thoughtful Faith. If you like the content you're hearing here at Thoughtful Faith,
or if you hate women and are a patriarch and are all that other nasty stuff that they accuse poor Jacob Hansen of being, when all he is just a dad. You know what I'm saying? He's just a dad. Where are you, Jacob? Where are you? Where'd you go, buddy?
Oh, am I not here?
Oh, there you are. See, you were stopped there for a second. We thought that you rage quit the stream.
Thought I froze.
You know, yeah. So anyway, okay, let's keep going. Let's see what our boy still has to say.
Become public. But in 2019, his brother shared it with the Washington Post.
Oh, they didn't want it to go public.
Who in his free time races motorcycles, says he was shunned by some of his friends and neighbors in Salt Lake City.
Oh yeah, shunned. He didn't become a raging online anti-Mormon who called every one of his friends on social media for months racist, bigoted homophobes as his great virtue signal to the rest of the community, thus chasing away his friends. Yeah, he had nothing to do with that. Yeah, that never happens. Okay? No, he was shunned. He was shunned. This is another rule of anti-Mormons. Okay, I'm just going to have to put it up here right now. I wasn't planning on talking about this today, but I have to put it up. Here's the 21 rules of anti-Mormons. All right? And one of the last ones is their, where is it? Oh, yeah. Here it is. It's probably number 18 or so, but it's second to last year on the list. It says they desperately co-opt other organization scandals and try to fit circular scandals into square church holes. There is a scandal in the Church of Scientology of being cut off if you leave. I can't remember the exact term right now because I don't remember what it's called, but there's a specific term for it where they call you a suppressive person. They say you can't talk to you, and it's brutal. If the worst rumors are true, it's brutal, and it's similar to the Jehovah's Witness Church. I have friends that have converted from the Church of the Jehovah's Witnesses into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and their families have refused to speak with them. It is a reverse with us. It's the absolute reverse.
Sorry, it's called disconnection, is what the Scientologists say.
Okay, cool.
Disconnection.
And so you always have to remember that rule number 12, I think it is, on the anti-Mormon list is also that it requires a victim narrative, not a victor narrative, okay? And in order to maintain the victim narrative, you always and most desperately need to maintain the story that I was shunned. I didn't shun others, but I was shunned. Okay, here it is. Requires victimhood, not victory. Top of the list right here. Requires victimhood, not victory. So I have a feeling, just me thinks, again, I'm being honest about this. I have not met the guy, but the behavior seems completely analogous through the titling of his letter to the CES director, through the timeline that we've discovered here. I'm just dubious. And remember, doubters, they're sacrosanct. If you doubt a narrative, you are one of the chosen ones. And as long as you're doubting the church, then it's okay. But the second you doubt the potentially disingenuous, well, now all of a sudden they freak out. But don't freak out. Be internally coherent, people. all you antis, you got to remember the doubters are the good guys. So I'm just expressing my doubts here. You know what I'm saying?
Be skeptical, right? You got to keep being, if you're going to be skeptical, be skeptical.
Be skeptical. You know, this isn't a guy who is poised to make 30, 50, $100 million off of a fake whistleblower complaint. No, he's a hero. And he's not an anti-Mormon. He just accidentally titled his document after.
And this also is a perfect example as to why the church might want to keep its funds quiet as to the amount that it has, because when it becomes public, then you become attractive to governments, you become attractive to bad faith actors, and you just become a distraction to the members who now all of a sudden feel like, well, if the church has all this money, suddenly I have a stake in how it's spent. And all of those things are perfectly valid reasons to do everything legally possible to keep them private. And what the church did is, I think anyone who's dealt with the law knows that there are legal gray areas. And I think what Ensign Peaks did was there was a legal gray area. They made a judgment call to break up the funds into various entities in order to help lower the profile of the funds in public for all the reasons
which if they didn't do, I wouldn't view them as competent.
Yeah, no, it was like a good move. And so they tried to do it, and there was a gray area in the law where maybe they ended up where a judge came out on the other side of it, or an SEC regulator, and like you said, they slapped them with a parking ticket, they apologized, and on we go. But the Exmo world's like, it's, President Nelson is
I do mockery much better. I do mockery much better.
That was great. Jacob, don't listen to him. That was awesome.
You forgot the and the shaking. You always need the shaking. That's actually why I installed this handle here. Anyway, Brittany, we've got some super chats we have to catch up on, right?
Yes, we do.
Okay, she is the keeper of the super chats. So you must thank Brittany in the chat if you ever want to super chat. Hit it, Brittany.
I can't say anything else with you three.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Brutal.
I'm getting tired.
That is kind of true.
Yeah.
Okay. I think Brooke Sabin. I don't know how to say your last name, sorry. Midnight Mormons, you guys are awesome. Keep it up. Jacob, you are the GOAT. Please enable channel memberships, set up Venmo, set up Patreon, whatever you want. We want to send you money to. Yeah, just kidding.
Screw that.
Yeah.
No, screw that super chat. Get the heck out of here. No.
How dare you use ad hominem against Jacob Hansen and call him a goat? That is rude. I can't believe that.
I do. That chick's got stones on my show. She super chatted me.
Brooke is a boy.
Wait, Brooke, huh?
Well, it's a boy picture.
But isn't Brooke a chick's name?
I don't know.
Okay, it's true. We got it. Brooke, let us know. But either way, you got stones on my show. You say not me, but my guest is the GOAT, the greatest of all time. His lighting sucked before I got a hold of him.
Let me just make the public admission to everyone.
I am hurting.
Everything Abraham Lincoln said, everything I owe to my angel mother. Everything I am, I owe to Cardin Ellis.
Well, that's an overstep.
Heard it here.
That's an overstep.
Heard it here.
But thank you.
Flipping that.
Thank you.
Okay,
in all seriousness, though, Cardin gave me some very good advice and helped me with lighting and, helped me to improve things, and I appreciate it very much.
That's funny. That's funny.
Okay, moving on. You guys are all the goats, okay? You guys are all great. Okay, moving on. Mitchell Clark. Ex-Mormons would criticize the church regardless of its financial status. If it was a poor organization, they would find a way to bash the church.
Well, anti-Mormons. We got to make sure we delineate that because, that's kind of a thing. So repeat that.
I'm going to read it again.
Well, just they would criticize what?
They would criticize the church regardless of its financial status. If it was a poor organization, they would find a way to bash the church.
Oh, that's true, because then you could say it was ineffectual. It's kind of one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't, which kind of shows the intellectual bias of these people. So, yeah. And then I think we got Forrest Schultz is back.
Oh, drum roll.
And he got one of these already. We might have to give him two after this. Hit it. What is it?
Thanks for making the topic entertaining and engaging. This is my Midnight Mormons tithing.
Oh! We're setting up our own 501c3, and now we're setting up our own freaking, shell company, and boom, before you know it, we're going to be bailing out insurance companies along the West Coast to keep them from impoverishing the members who are working so hard. Thank you very much, Forrest Schultz. Thank you.
I found a funny, just in the live chat, Richard Stafford said, hashtag make it a trillion with Forrest.
Yeah, make it a trillion with Forrest.
Forrest
is balling, and that's a cool name. I always like the name Forrest. It's pretty cool. You know what I'm saying? So we got to meet this cat. In fact, Forrest, you were one of the top super chatters. So if you missed out on our last live stream, this is actually a vial of consecrated oil for the healing of the sick and afflicted that was consecrated on the Mount of Olives, overlooking the sunrise of Jerusalem. And there's a really cool Muslim man that actually makes out of olive wood from Israel these different vials for the LDS people that go there. So I bought several of these for my elders quorum, but they ended up getting from the bishop the metal kind, which is a little bit more convenient. So I had some of these extra left over, and I said, hey, the next 3 people that super chat gets one. And I believe, help me out here, Ed, it was Carolyn Wright Gaines Music that got one?
It was Sister Wright Gaines Music.
And you contacted her. She gets hers, right?
Yes.
Have you been able to contact on my behalf one Forrest?
Yes, I have. He has a very beautiful wife, and they, I think, would like to meet you in person.
Oh, well, dude, let's do it. Let's make that happen, Forrest. We'll do a delivery. It'll be a fun little video. We'll kind of do Midnight Strike to Mormons out in the field. Maybe it'll be one of the first out in the field videos of our rebrand. I don't know. Let's talk. We'll figure that out. But we got to get to the end of this video because we've got this disgruntled bad actor who's just anguished by the deep decisions he has to make. So he's getting it out of his head. And just like that long walk with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, what was the name of that movie that they were in love? It was Stanley Kubrick's last film, Eyes Wide Shut. Just like that poorly lit walk in Eyes Wide Shut, this guy needs to ride his motorcycle into the distance.
It wasn't until 2021, 2 years later, that David Nielsen heard from investigators. Not from the IRS, but the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Well, yeah, because those are some pretty hardcore allegations. I mean, and that's what these people don't realize. When they accuse Mormons of treason, or they accuse them of, oh, you're harboring the P-word files, and this and that. It's like, yeah, these are serious allegations you guys just throw around in your childish, angry rage that will trigger an investigation that ends up being a giant nothing burger and only results in a parking ticket. But shame on you. Like, this is shameful behavior. But let's keep going.
Which launched its own probe into Ensign Peak after that website story linked the church to shell companies.
What information did you give to the SEC?
Everything. I helped them see the big picture.
To protect.
By the way, if that's not an indictment of the poverty of his case, the fact that I gave them everything. I helped them see the big picture with my mixture of Keanu Reeves and that guy from The Notebook. And they still didn't prosecute. I guess it was a weak argument. I guess my argument was flawed. No, he never rounds that corner. You know what I'm saying? He's surprised that the authorities did nothing. Why? Because there was nothing done wrong. It's okay. Let's just keep going.
Market fairness and transparency, any firm with more than $100 million in securities must file accurate reports on its holdings with the SEC.
Yes, and sometimes that's a difficult thing to do. Like most of the people that are complaining about this, again, they personify lazy learning, not just in spiritual matters, but in physical and financial matters. Ask anybody who's run a corporation how difficult it is to do your tax return. And I think you can relate with this, Jonah Barnes, because you've owned multiple multinational companies. But, when you have to buy a bunch of equipment per se, for example, and a bunch of real estate, you have to choose, do I mark down the depreciation in this category? Do I mark down the depreciation in that category? Can I declare this a loss if I've used the space for storage? What is the percentage of the deduction if it's used occasionally as a personal item, like a personal car might be that you make deliveries in temporarily until you have a professional vehicle? There's a...
I think it's hilarious that essentially what she just said is the church filled out a form wrong. Next on 60 Minutes, the church filled out a form wrong. That's our story. Tune in for more salacious form filling outing wrong. I mean, that's it. That's it.
And that's the thing. Anyone, okay. Sorry for all you guys out there who've only ever done TurboTax to do your basic W-2 return.
Yeah, we got 3 alpha males up in here right now that all own businesses.
Wait, Jacob,
bow down! Bow down!
Why do people use TurboTax, Jacob? Why do they do that? Why do they use H&R Block, Jacob? Why do people employ those people?
Because there's a lot of things you got to figure out. And not only that, anyone who's ever done this and worked with any kind of a tax consultant on a complicated tax situation will realize there's all sorts of gray areas in tax law. There's all sorts of gray areas in financial reporting altogether. It's a very hazy area. And yes, sometimes even people who are trying to do it right will goof something up. And
ask a tax guy. Ask a tax guy to explain hobby loss laws. And if any tax guy can coherently explain hobby loss laws, you will understand.
Hire him.
You will understand exactly why we're all saying how difficult this is.
So, and Jacob,
just recently I was dealing with Nexus. So Nexus is if you do business in multiple states, especially in the age of the internet. The level of complexity I was listening, and my tax guy, who's a very good tax guy, was like, yeah, it's sort of.
Dude, my tax guy, I had to get a second tax guy just for the 501c3 filings for this historical film project I was on. Like my tax guy, who's amazing, shout out Tax Fighter Troy in Los Angeles, California. He won't touch 501c3s. He's like, dude, you think regular taxes are complicated? Wait until you got a 501c3, bro, Seth. And so it's like, I mean, I find this, the only people that fall into the trap of, oh, see, the church was dishonest, have never filled out anything outside of their parents doing their taxes for them because they're too busy on video games. Or, by the way, that was not an indictment of Diamond Dave. Okay, he's a great guy. Okay,
yeah, dude, don't you?
I ain't touching Diamond Dave. He's sponsored this half of the podcast. All right,
but Jacob, to your point, the reason that people are did you know that what's kind of funny? 7 billion hours are spent doing Americans' taxes every year. Americans will spend 7 billion hours filling out their taxes. Are they doing it because they love giving their money to the federal government? No. They're doing it because they love not giving money to the federal government. They're trying to stop their money flowing to the federal government.
Well, and
they're trying
racist.
to pay as few taxes as possible. That's why they do it.
Well, it's the bigoted patriarch's pastime is, filling out tax forms and handing the government money. So what else could be expected of such hateful people? Anyway, let's keep going and seeing what they got to say to finish her up right here.
But in February, the SEC announced the Church of Latter-day Saints
No, it's a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I don't want to nitpick, but if you don't get that one right, it kind of makes me think that you didn't know what you were saying.
Yeah, it's not our church. It's his
No,
church.
and when somebody said, like, okay, that's either you're ignorant and so we shouldn't pay attention to you, or you're malicious and intentionally trying to leave Jesus Christ's name out of it.
Okay. I actually think the poor girl is just trying to do her due diligence. This was a big fat nothing burger in the ratings. So, anyway, let's let him continue.
Ensign Peak failed to do that. SEC investigators found the church went to great lengths to hide $32 billion in securities over nearly 20 years.
I go to great lengths to try and, avoid that lane that charges me $2.50 for that quarter mile I go through in Los Angeles. So if I can get a buddy that can carpool with me, I'll avoid that tax. You know what I'm saying? If I can buy a diesel fleet instead of a gasoline fleet to avoid the petroleum tax, am I an evil person? No, there's a difference between tax avoidance and tax evasion. One is a crime and one is just smart strategy. Why do you think all the rich people register their cars in Montana? Why do you think all the businesses have moved out of New York and gone to Florida? Why do you think Reno, Nevada has so many breweries that import their booze into Sacramento? Because Reno doesn't charge the same amount of taxes as Sacramento does. This is not evil, it's strategic. And you're just angry. You don't understand the strategery. So you're shrouding this in vagaries in order to use stupid critical theory communist terms like problematic. And they went to great lengths. This is midwit pseudo-journalism.
Wow, you didn't even take a breath.
Oh yeah, no, it's kind of like
you really feel.
That was awesome.
No, it's kind of like Kenny G. You know how he could do the longest note in his saxophone because he could breathe through his nose and then blow out through his mouth simultaneously. That's what I'm the Kenny G of podcasting, bro. So anyway, back to Midwit Minutes,
which went to great lengths to hide $32 billion in securities over nearly 20 years. It created 13 shell companies that were assigned a local phone number that would go directly to voicemail in case regulators checked in.
Here they had these back office.
Oh, now, by the way, you know what you could easily say about Mr. Beast? Mr. Beast started 16 channels in foreign languages that all had phone numbers that went to voicemail. So when regulators wanted to know what Mr. Beast was up to, they couldn't find him. Or maybe you can't start a secondary channel unless you have a legitimate phone number because it's part of the two-factor authentication process that is required by YouTube as part of its partnership program. And you can't have a registered corporation in the state of Utah or in California unless you have what's called an enrolled agent, which is a phone number and an address where there is a person during business hours from 9 to 5 who is available to answer the phone in case the state's franchise tax board wants to contact you. Again, this is not a smoking gun. This is only evidence of due diligence.
Yeah, the church wanted to set up these companies. So it did so. It had to have phone lines to verify it. And instead of hiring people to man those phone lines, instead they sent that money to fund historically black colleges and buy wheelchairs for Africans.
Yeah, they're angry that there wasn't somebody behind the desk. So they were saving money on payroll.
Exactly.
What the heck? Okay, let's keep going. By the way, your beard needs to compete with his beard. I find his beard to be more well-groomed than yours. However, your shirt selection is far more modern, Jonah Barnes.
Who are you talking about? Whose beard is better?
The guy.
This is
the dude that's trying out for Steel Magnolias 2025.
Oh.
The whistleblower. See, it's very...
He's got a nice beard, actually.
You know who he looks like?
I do have to say, I have to credit where it's due.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. It was pretty good. And I'm trying to get mine back, everybody. I had a skin rash I had to take care of. I'm working on getting it back.
Yeah, that's what they call the bruises after you're slapped. So I'm not just kidding. So I will say, you know who this guy totally looks like? He looks like a slightly better bearded version of DC Drano. You know DC Drano?
DC Drano.
Look up DC Drano. He's a really funny meme guy. He's on Instagram. He's like
okay, well, while you're looking it up, there's 2
super
chats.
Oh,
okay.
super chats. Hit the super chats, babe.
Diamond Dave says backdating all my super chats earlier in stream to count as tithing.
Oh, we fully endorse that as priestcraft. No, anyway, keep going.
Rex Good. I always wonder why I wait to almost the end to do super chats. I think I'm getting slow in my old age. This topic doesn't interest me. Huh? Same.
He's giving us money.
I wish you guys would look into, quote, He Walked the Americas by L. Taylor Hansen.
You know, we'll do that for you. We'll do that for you, Rex Good. And Rex Good's your biggest fan, remember?
I love Rex Good.
Yes. Okay, and what's the last super chat, babe?
Quiet guitarist fan.
He gives good stuff.
I would honestly think the church is way more badass if they intentionally evaded the taxes put on by these tyrants.
Oh, so you want him to go fully Ammon Bundy and just take over the federal building? Wouldn't be the first
time we ran away from the law.
Savage. No, we believe in upholding and sustaining the law, being governed by kings, principalities, and crap, I can't remember that.
As a matter of practicality to keep Caesar from chopping off our heads.
Oh, stop it. There is such a thing as good governance. You know what I'm saying? And the Republican
all governance
Party
is violence. It's all theft and violence.
So
anyway,
we've got the anarcho-capitalist.
I won't take us down that rabbit hole. I'm saving that up for our brawl later on. We're gonna have on those.
The
issues.
UBI brawl. Okay, Brittany.
We have 2 more.
Okay, hit it.
Sleepy.
Okay.
Okay, Danny Gray. Jonah Barnes's goatee Apostle 2024.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Show us, Jonah.
And
Brad Whitbeck, you've been replaced.
Okay, Noisy Boy. Is tithing really based on surplus and not income? I've always been paying tithing based on my net pay.
Okay, well, that's a good question. What's the definition of net? What's the definition of gross? Now, net oftentimes on certain paychecks comes after union dues. It comes, or sometimes it doesn't, and you need to factor those in. There's FICA, there's Social Security, there's state taxes. You also need to consider, okay, is the taxation or is the money that I use in gas getting to work? Part of that needs to be factored into. Like I don't believe in having a legalistic approach to the gospel, okay? Because God isn't going to have a forensic accountant there that's diving through our tax returns to know whether or not we actually paid enough of a tithing. You know, there's times where you literally do just need to ask God, like, what is the proper tithe? Do I feel good about this? Because, for example, there's been years as an entrepreneur, maybe I've lost money. I might have started $1 million business and I might have put $1 million into it, but it's not in the black yet. I'm actually losing money. Well, a legalistic approach to that would say I'm actually entitled to money from the church as a reverse tithe. You know what I'm saying? And that's obviously not going to work. If you live in France, where you can get into the 90th percentile for taxation, there's a lot of French actors that have moved across the border to Luxembourg in order to escape some of the high taxation there that they can't get out of. If you're in a 92% tax bracket and you're expected to pay on the gross, 102%? That's impossible. So yeah, you always need to make sure that you know what your surplus is. Like, and you look up in the 1830 definition when the Doctrine and Covenants on tithing was written, and there's a very specific admonition that you're supposed to be paying from your surplus, okay? And there's a really interesting article written by a guy named Rock Waterman back in the day. Unfortunately, I think he was excommunicated. He was a very tongue-in-cheek, sassy kind of guy that I thought was really funny and a cool blogger. Back when, like, you know, Mormons and ex-Mormons could get along and they weren't anti-Mormons trying to go after the church. And I enjoyed his blog. He was a funny, kind of sarcastic guy. And he wrote a very interesting article titled "You're Paying Too Much in Tithing" that is actually like 90% accurate in my mind. And I'm not saying this to endorse any kind of anti-Mormon narrative as much as to just endorse the fact that good study was done. And he actually goes through the Doctrine and Covenants, and this has been mirrored on Fair LDS. This has been mirrored on a lot of faithful sites as well, that you really do have to understand what your income is. And part of the beauty of tithing is being able to understand what your income actually is, what the value of your home actually is, what the value of your savings actually are, so you can be like the church, like the brethren, and trying to save that 15% like they do, and trying to tithe like Jesus Christ did with the tribute penny. I mean, I'm actually reading a really interesting article here in Coins of the Bible about the tribute penny that Jesus Christ held up that had the image of Caesar on the front. Where he said, "Give unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, given to God that which is God's." You can't give unto Caesar or yourself what you owe yourself or Caesar or God until you actually know what it is. So yes, that's probably going to be a conversation for a different live stream, so on and so forth. But one of the most disingenuous arguments used by anti-Mormons is the pejorative slur that the church requires 10% of your income. No, it's 10% of your surplus, which is a different word altogether. Shame on them for consistently repeating that lie.
And also, just gotta set this out there. No one, when you go in for a temple recommend renewal interview or to get a temple recommend, right, and they ask if you're a full tithe payer, they don't check up on you. They're not frisking your pockets. They're not searching through your checkbook or whatever, okay? So people make it sound like the church is strong-arming money out of people. They're collecting money from people and all these things. The tithing is between you and God. That's who it's really between. The bishop steps in for a minute.
In your tithing settlement, they didn't have you produce bank statements?
No.
Okay, I gotta talk.
Wait, are you suggesting that the bishop is just
what's going on down there in Reno?
Are you suggesting the bishop is just a witness to your declaration that you're indeed a tithe payer and that he's not strong arming you for anything? Wow, this is crazy. Brittany, there's other super chats, right?
Yes.
Hit it.
We're getting too many super chats. We
No, there's never too many. There's never too many. Hit it.
Okay, minor prophet Ian Malcolm. The law as defined in Article of Faith 12 is the Constitution. More or less than this is of evil. DNC 98, 4-7. I don't know what that means, but thank you.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to look. Get to the next one. I'm going to look that one up.
I think that was the last one. Did I skip one?
Okay, no, that's great. Well, let's finish this off because we do have to end at some time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So here we
yes,
go.
we do.
Here we go. Here's our bearded brother who's hitting it on 60 Minutes.
Accountants who had never bought a bond or sold stock a day in their life, signing signatory pages for a portfolio that didn't exist.
The SEC.
Wait. The portfolio didn't exist? Oh, okay.
SEC fined the church and Ensign Peak a total of $5 million. Bishop Christopher Waddell told us it was the church's lawyers who advised them to create the shell companies.
What about, the idea that secrecy builds mistrust?
Mm-hmm. Well, we don't feel it's being secret. We feel it's being confidential.
Which, by the way, we just encountered two huge truths here that are saved for the last third of the production, of course, in which he said, look, our lawyers advised this. These are all commonalities of the U.S. tax code that are advised in order to protect resources.
In gray areas of tax law and of regulations over nonprofit entities are very complex. And to have some attorneys say, hey, I think we should do it this way in a certain gray area, and then have an SEC regulator say, no, I disagree with you guys. Here's your parking fine. Like, that is the biggest nothing burger ever.
By the way, listen, you big fat progmo, okay? I'm not giving any quarter to these people saying it's a gray area even. Why? What are you? You're halfway to Patrick Mason at this point. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm totally just kidding. But I would say to me, this isn't even a gray area. This is literally par for the course. Like if you start out, if you're wealthy and you've got a cause that you believe in, you start a foundation. And how many wealthy people don't pay income tax? Why? Because income tax is taxed at 27 to 54%. So what do? They pay themselves in stock options instead. That's why every Fortune 500 company pays out in stock options. Because if the stock goes up due to your performance, instead of your wage getting in your pocket due to your performance, you only pay a 14% capital gains tax. So what would you rather pay on your 10 million? Would you rather pay a 43% marginal tax rate, or would you rather pay a 14% marginal tax rate? Like that's not even a gray area. That's just common standard practice. So creating shell companies, I don't even like the name shell companies, just creating legal entities to disperse the different amounts of wealth in each one of them. So none of them seems to be massively large and becomes a target for predatory lawyers or for malicious muckrakers or anything like that. That is literally so par for the course, I don't even consider it a gray area. It's like, it's so standard in our society that I don't think it's a gray area.
And the argument that just to clarify for everybody out there, in case your anti-Mormons are going to come screaming at you, the reason that the SEC disagreed, the gray area we're talking about, is that the SEC wants to know. Imagine portfolios and you're trading stocks and you have all these stocks in one big portfolio. You want to know where your big guys are, because if something goes wrong with that, it constitutes a large proportion of your portfolio, of your assets. So they want to know if there's one organization out there that has $100 billion that is making decisions unilaterally. The SEC wants to know that. Now the church argues and says, well, we're not making decisions unilaterally. We have a whole team of investors, Ensign Peak, and they're investing in all kinds of things. It's not like all of a sudden Russell M. Nelson dies and his stocks fall out of the market and there's a hole and it creates chaos in the market. So the SEC was like, well, yeah, but, it is kind of controlled by the same company in the end. So that's where the disagreement came from. And it really was just that. It's kind of a, well, I don't know, I think maybe this. And so they gave them the basic fine for that fund.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, Brittany, we've got a couple of super chats here that you want to hit up. Thank you, everybody that's in the super chats. If you haven't had a chance to like the stream yet, please like it. Brittany, what are they saying?
Okay, Danny Gray says, gonna take my lunch break in Wendover tonight to add to Ensign Peak. # make it a trillion.
Oh, savage. Yeah, make it a trillion. Okay, keep going, Brittany.
I think that's it.
Oh, that's it. So we are all officially caught up.
Hopefully I didn't skip one. I don't think I did.
All right. Well, speaking of getting caught up, right now we're going to finish this video. All right. Let's go 60 minutes.
What's the difference?
The difference is...
By the way, let's pause. This is where they tried to make him look stupid, and let's rewatch this entire segment again so you actually see how he did a good job. Like, there was finally somebody in a large church that's being accused of something grave who stops to think for a second and offer a well-measured response.
Yeah, you did a good job.
Like, how are we indicting this? I wish more people would just stop and think before they blurted out talking points. Let's see this all over again.
Of $5 million. Bishop Christopher Waddell told us it was the church's lawyers who advised them to create the shell companies.
Okay.
What about, the idea that secrecy builds mistrust?
Mm-hmm. Well, we don't feel it's being secret. We feel
because it's not secret the amount that's in my wallet. Okay, that's just private information.
It's being confidential.
What's the difference?
The difference is, I guess it's a point of view.
So he totally is honest here. He says, yeah, there's a weakness in the argument for those that hate us, that it's perspective. If you hate us, you're not going to like that it's private info. If you love us, you're going to like that it's private info. So he gave a very honest, well-measured response. Like, let's watch that one more time.
What's the difference?
The difference is, I guess it's a point of view. It's confidential in order to maintain the focus on what our purpose is and what the mission of the church is, rather than the church has X amount of money.
But don't you agree this would be a non-issue if there was more transparency?
No, because all they would talk about is how the church spends its money.
It'd be a non-issue if you had better investigative reporting on Nancy Pelosi's stock trades or Jeff Epstein's client list. Then it'd be a non-issue, but you come around here.
The lady is literally proving
why
it's an issue. As soon as they found out that there was a lot of money, all of a sudden 60 Minutes is banging on the door. Yes. Everybody's talking about it. It's like we are literally witnessing exactly why they want to keep it down and confidential so that it doesn't become, as he said rightly, a distraction from what the church is actually about.
We are watching in real time the answer to that question, and they're too unself-aware to realize it. Let's watch that one more time, and then we'll keep going.
I guess it's a point of view. It's confidential in order to maintain the focus on what our purpose is and what the mission of the church is, rather than the church has X amount of money.
But don't you agree this would be a non-issue if there was more transparency?
No, because then everyone would be telling us what they wanted us to do with the money.
Last year.
Bingo. Mic drop. Exactly.
By the way, that was the fastest answer he gave. Like, he didn't have to think about that one. She's like, well, don't you agree this would be a non... He was like, no. These people are crazy. These people are absolutely nuts. No, it would not be a non-issue. Okay, let's keep going.
The church says it spent over $1 billion on humanitarian aid, including food production.
And that's just the trackable aid. That's not even including the volunteer hours that are done by people who believe in giving anonymously so that their reward may be in heaven, fulfilling scripture. So that's a low number.
In any given month, you may have an average of 9 transfers that going from Ensign Peak back to the church to fund all church operations, all humanitarian work, education work, all the work of the church, they fund.
Money's going in and out of the cash accounts all the time.
Wait, but he literally just said in the previous part that money went in but never went out. So which one is it? I'm not sensing internal coherency here, but let's move on. I don't want to nitpick.
But Ensign Peak's funds were never used for any charitable purpose. It's to my knowledge, the whole time I was there. So there's a bit of a distinction here that's important.
Explain that to me.
Well, it's the difference between your checking account and maybe your retirement account.
Yeah, no doubt. Lots of money goes into the retirement account and doesn't come out unless you're doing something wrong.
Now remember, boys and girls, at the beginning of this very live stream, I said they claimed that the church had used the funds improperly. Here we are. You can rewind the tape. Here he is saying they are not using the funds. They say he used the funds improperly, and now they're saying, well, they never used it. I mean, they never used it.
So again, they need to choose. Is Joseph Smith a young, silly, bumped his head and had a schizophrenic vision and is a midwit con man? Or is he an elaborate charlatan capable of only the most intelligent and complex cons? Like, you can't choose when trying to describe the complexity of the Book of Mormon, say, well, he was a complex genius. And then while describing how some of the simple truths of the gospel have held up over time, because it was invented by a midwit. Like, which one is he? You need to choose. All right.
This is David.
Okay, so real quick, another aspect to keep in mind here. He's saying, oh, well, they're not using the money that's in the fund. Okay, remember, the fund is just being built up slowly over time, like a savings account where you're dropping in, as we're all told, 10 to 15% into a savings account. The thing is, they're not recalling that out of that $7 billion, okay, $1 billion of it will go into the savings, but the other 6 are spent on the rank and file of the church, on the building of buildings, on the funding of schools, on the giving of humanitarian support. He's acting like the church just gets all this money and then it just like hoards it. It's actually, what it's doing is it gets all this money, $7 billion to be precise, or what we estimate it based on what we know. We don't know exactly. But if it was $7 billion that came in, one of that is going into savings. The other 6 is going to fund the operations of the church. Okay. So that's like wise. That's really smart.
Yeah. It's again, they don't refute scripture. They only fulfill it. It says in the last days that you will be made an offender for a word. They're trying to use a broad vagary so you need to defend yourself. They can go after the word. This is nuts. Shout out to Bryson in the chat. Many of you guys have been making positive comments about some of the shorts that our channel is putting out. And some of those are due to our good buddy Bryson. So give a little shout out to Bryson in the chat. Let's keep going with Mega Beard right here. Auditioning for
Fried Green Tomatoes.
Yeah, Rotten Green Tomatoes, or Fried Green Tomatoes 2 in theaters 2026.
And you don't get to pretend that one is affecting the other.
The fundamental claim to me is that Ensign Peak brings money in, and it's the Hotel California. It never comes out.
Okay, let's hope our 401ks are all like that, but let's keep going. Okay, if there's a 401k company out there that names itself Hotel California, money only comes in, it never comes out. I am signing up for that. I'm signing up for that one, but let's keep going. Oh, lovely pantsuit.
Phil Hackney worked in the Office of Chief Counsel of the IRS and teaches tax law. He concedes it's complex, and the case falls into a gray area.
Oh, what do you know? Just like Jacob Hansen has been saying this whole time, that it's complex and it all falls into a gray area here. There's no smoking guns.
I don't mean to be ad hominem, but does this guy look like he's Humpty Dumpty and somebody just like drew his face on with a Sharpie?
Oh, it's savage.
He's probably a good dude. I'm not saying anything about the dude. I'm just saying his face kind of looks like, does he look like he's fake? Maybe 60 Minutes just created this guy.
Dude, I got to tell you right now, as funny as that is, I would never admit it's funny on air because that dude runs the investigative arm of the IRS. He could probably...
I take it all back.
Yeah, he could probably look up your tax returns from the past 3 years.
He can ruin everything about all of us.
He can ruin everything about all of us. I think he looks stunning and brave. That's exactly what I think. I think he looks...
articulate and intelligent.
You think the YouTube censors are rough. Just wait till you meet this guy.
Yeah, dude. He is... I hope my son grows up to only be half as attractive as he is.
Yeah, when the IRS demonetizes you, it's a much bigger deal.
Yeah, okay.
And real quick, what's an IRS guy doing commenting on an open investigation?
Well, actually, it's not open. It's now closed because they did pay the fee, which ended it. And also, because 60 Minutes, this is actually them doing their due diligence. They got the guy. So let's see what the guy says. And because what's hilarious is the guy that's actually in charge is like, oh, yeah, this is a nothing burger. So let's see what the guy says.
Hold on a second. I just got to pause for a second and do my rip on Caesar for a minute. Okay, hold on here, everybody. Let's think about this for a second. The church was operating in a gray area, and then it, didn't do things the way the SEC
Not a gray area.
Fine, not a gray area, even more so. And now Caesar comes to our church and says, give me 5 million of your tithing dollars with a gun to the church's head saying, you have to do that. And in this exchange, the church is the bad guy, not Caesar, who shows up and just stole 5 million in tithing money because of their arbitrary rules that were hard to understand anyway, and the lawyers advised it. This is ridiculous.
Okay.
I'm just pissed. I'm pissed off that Caesar made off with 5 million of our tithing dollars.
Wow, Jacob is spicy tonight.
Yeah. Woo! I can tell you right now. All of the anarchists.
Jacob.
You know,
and I hope this IRS guy does not watch this episode.
Yeah. Michael Malice is proud. Right now, Michael Malice is very proud of you, Jacob Hansen. And I'm sure Richard Stafford very much appreciates some of your taxation is theft commentary here. So anyway, let's keep going and let's see what our buddy who has been accused of looking like Humpty Dumpty says. I find him to be stunning and brave.
Money in, and it's the Hotel California. It never comes out.
Bill Hackney worked in the office of chief.
By the way, he missed his calling in life. Listen to that smooth texture in his voice, very deep. He should have been in radio.
Ensign Peak brings money in, and it's the Hotel California. It never comes out.
Like, you feel that thundering bass?
Wow.
Yeah, that guy should come into radio with us.
Bill Hackney worked in the office of chief counsel of the IRS and teaches tax law. He concedes it's complex, and the case falls into a gray area.
The church would say, we give millions of dollars out every year in humanitarian work. How much is enough by the standards of the IRS?
That's a good question. It has to be over 51%, has to be for social good and a 501c4, which is similar to a 501c3 in some ways, but not all. So I'm going to see what he says here. By the way, the enforcement on this is almost nil, unless you're conservative. Then Obama will send the IRS after you all
No,
day
the percentage, if you're donating to the DNC, then it's only 1%, and you're good.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So let's see what he has to say. This is an interesting question. This is the first interesting question in the entire 60 minutes.
We know within private foundations, it's 5% of assets. There's no clarity when it comes to public charities, and certainly not with churches.
But there is clarity in the numbers that we're on par with Elon Musk. We're doing 4 times what Jeff Bezos does. And don't forget, the progressives and the liberals worship Jeff Bezos, you know. Bill and Melinda Gates, all those pro-jibby-jabby people, the pro-lockdown people, the pro-COVID people. Remember, Bill Gates, he's unimpeachable. He's next to Obama as the Messiah. He's one of the top 3 in the liberal secular trinity, and the church is outpacing him by at least double in that percentage of assets. So let's see what the IRS guy has to say.
But I would expect to see something like 2-3% of assets being spent out to justify that status.
Okay, Jeff Bezos, it's like 0.25%. That's a little bit high. Elon Musk is only at 2%. So if you're asking for 2 to 5%, that's a little bit brutal in my opinion, because you could easily just wither away on the vine. I think in the most robust years, seeing 2 to 5% would be okay. But as an average over time, that seems excessive. But now we're just into minutia.
But how do you know
real quick,
spending?
Yeah.
On the numbers themselves, we have to remember that what the numbers that this whistleblower brought up are not the total numbers of the church. No one knows what the actual numbers are. And the person who probably had the closest idea was Quinn. And Quinn commented in the video that I referenced on my channel about the numbers. And he says, based on his understandings of the numbers that he saw when he actually had access to the church's financial records, he said that these numbers don't represent what the church actually has, and what he said, more importantly, what the church actually spends. He says the spends of the church are much higher than this guy was saying in his whistleblower report.
Okay, cool. So anyway, let's keep going. Let's see what she's got to say.
2 or 3% of assets if we don't know what the assets are.
We have to rely on them behaving well.
They said they bailed out this insurance company. That's the words they used. Is that a problem?
By the way, the words they used are the words the entire American public uses. The company Beneficial Life was going to go belly up in the crash of 2008. You know, had this been 2001 and they were claiming at the height of the .com boom that, Beneficial Life, it's going to go out of business unless we give them $500 billion, then I'd be raising eyebrows and I'd be saying no. But dude, if you set up a fund for people after Black Monday in 1928 or 1929, whenever Black Monday happened and started the Great Depression of the 1930s, if I hear you were bailing a company out in 1930, I believe it. If I hear you were bailing a company out in 2008, I believe it. Everything that has been said so far is not only 100% believable, but benevolent. You know, I can't believe.
And they own the insurance company. Like, that's the thing. This is an entity that's owned by the church. The church owns these investments, and the church can move money around to save its own investments. It's just another investment move. You're moving your money and saying, hey, this one of our investments is going to fail. These people are going to lose their jobs. The widows and the orphans are going to lose the life insurance money that they need. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to take some of our money. We're going to loan it to them to help float them through the recession. And they're the bad guys in this?
Yeah. Well, no, it does. It boggles your brain when you go anti-Mormon. It just kind of makes you stop thinking rationally. So
insurance company, that's the words they used. Is that a problem?
It is a problem, in my opinion, if they have moved money from the nonprofit to a for-profit.
So how likely do you think it would be that the IRS would ever investigate this?
Slim.
Okay, well, where's the smoking gun? Like, if there's such a smoking gun, you know what I'm saying? Like, of something unethical that's not, you know, the prescribed bailout that they're saying they were engaged in. Because let me tell you, if you want to go after a church for having bailed out a bunch of people who would be literally on welfare if they weren't bailed out, do you want to be the guy that launches that investigation?
Also, let's just remember, the opinion of this IRS guy, we don't operate our tax strategy in the church based on the opinion of that dude. As he said, in my opinion. The reason he said in my opinion is because he knows that there's nothing in the law that says that you can't do that. And so the church very wisely used its funds within the bounds of the law, which is the arbitrary dictates of Caesar, and did it the way that they did it. And my whole thing is this, you guys, these are arbitrary rules created by the government by force. And if we don't follow them perfectly, the government will come in and steal your tithing money.
You know what's funny is you're using all the terminologies and the arguments of a libertarian, which I find very rational but unemotional. I'm going to make the emotional argument right now. Guy comes home drunk, starts beating his wife. She doesn't have an excuse to use a gun, but in anger, after years of abuse, shoots him and kills him. Do you want to be the politician that gets up and says, that woman belongs in prison after years of sustained abuse? No, you would get strung up. You know what I'm saying? Like, you like, no. So again, do you want to be the politician that calls into question the ethos of voluntary donations used to keep people out of poverty on such a widespread basis it would cost you your political career in the state where it happened? No, nobody wants to do that. That's psychotic. That's not evil. That's rational, which is Jacob Hanson's territory. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, sorry, I interrupted your thought. Keep going.
No, I was just going to say, it's just, we have to remember in the end, we have this. We have money that we have voluntarily given to the church. And then you have an agency, the state, that wants to, by use of violent force, come in and say, you will give us this money for XY reason for violating the rules that we came up with. It's like, I'm sorry, the church should be able to do whatever it wants with its money because it was given to it voluntarily by us. Okay? We have our, and that is an expression of our religious liberty. And there should be absolutely nothing that a government should be able to do when it comes to these churches. The churches operate, the sacred tithing funds are sacred, and to have the Romans come and break into the temple and take the money is wrong.
But Jacob, how are they supposed to fund all their hotel rooms for their mistresses in D.C. if they don't take money from churches?
Yeah, I know. Or their
Think of the
wars,
little
or
guy.
their
Think of the
abortions,
little guy.
or any number of things that the government does.
Think of
It's
the
a
little guy
corrupt-
flying coach to Epstein Island, Jacob. Okay.
Yeah.
These poor guys. You're not thinking about them.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, we only have 1 minute left, guys. Thanks for everybody that's hung out with this live stream. I thought it was going to be like an hour and a half. We're like coming up on 3 hours here. So here's the last minute of 60 minutes. This guy seems intellectually honest to me. Okay, he's given the hard answers in both directions. He seems intellectually honest. Let me see what he has to say.
The political risk is so great that it comes with real danger. At the same time, there's a real risk to the rule of law if the IRS doesn't come.
Oh, yeah, because the theocracy is going to take over? Like what? What? Do you think all the Presbyterians are just going to start getting along with the Catholics and the Mormons?
We wouldn't want religious people thinking that their tithing is safe and that it isn't ultimately that they're doing what they do under our thumb, right? The rule of law, which means the rule of Caesar. We don't want people challenging the IRS having access to anything that you do. We don't want people getting the idea that they're actually free.
Okay, so here we go. Oh, geez, wow, that was last. Okay, the last 45 seconds right here.
And enforce those rules.
David Nielsen says honesty is a...
What'd you say?
Force. He said enforce the rules. Do you guys know what enforce the rules means? It means people with guns threaten you with violence unless they do what they say.
Oh, wow.
Believe me, these people want control over what you do with your tithing money. They want you to know that you guys aren't free to do what you want with your tithes. You do what you want with your tithes according to what we will let you do with your tithes.
Oh, wow. You would be a really good dictator. You know what I'm saying? I think you'd just be like...
I'm a dictator slayer, man.
Yeah, a dictator slayer.
Death to tyrants.
Okay, wow. I think you just got flagged on 3 terrorist watch lists. But no, I'm just kidding. I think Ammon Bundy would be proud, but anyway, just like, hey, let's keep
I'm not a fan of Ammon Bundy, so everybody knows.
Well, you sound like one. So no, I'm totally just kidding. Totally kidding. I don't know enough about him other than I think he took over that federal building somewhere in like Idaho.
Yeah, the problem is when you start using violence against Caesar like that, you got to go a long ways before I actually join the zealots. I'm a follower of Jesus, not a zealot.
Oh, okay. So you're a happy warrior.
I'm one of the ones who's doing what I can to, I believe in the 12th article, or is that the 12th article of faith, the one that talks about being subject to kings and rulers and magistrates?
You just believe
like Jesus
you
was,
just
but
believe
me.
You just believe in doing it with a tattoo that says taxation is theft.
Yeah, and I also believe that Jesus was like, just look at the way Jesus was towards Caesar. Jesus was no fan of Caesar. Caesar was the bad guy to Jesus. But what he said was, look, I'm not a zealot either. Yeah. Right? I think Ammon Bundy and those types, they go down the zealot road where they want to pull out their swords and start killing some Romans. No. That's not Jesus's way. We're going to undermine Caesar a different way.
Ooh, spiritually, with Zion, with love. You go, brother. Okay, this is the last 30 seconds of 60 seconds, and then we will have made it through.
Tenet of the faith. He wants Ensign Peak Advisors to pay the taxes he says it owes on the $100 billion fortune built from tithing.
Oh, so it's wholly benevolent. Oh, he's not interested in the $30 million payout that he'll get as a whistleblower. No, he just wants to make sure the church is paying its taxes. He's just a good citizen.
He just wants your tithing money to be given to Caesar.
Oh, wow. Nothing to do with Caesar's payout. Nothing with the reward. Oh, let's listen to that one more time. This is hilarious.
Says honesty is a tenet of the faith. He wants Ensign Peak Advisors to pay the taxes he says it owes on the $100 billion fortune built from tithing.
He's a hero.
If the IRS decides Nielsen is right, he could be rewarded with up to 30% of what's collected.
Okay. We are 12 minutes and 38 seconds into a video that is 13 minutes and 11 seconds long. And only in the last 45 seconds of this entire production did 60 Minutes say the obvious that if this guy gets away with this, he is slated to make tens of millions of dollars. This is what Tucker Carlson was talking about when he said very specific facts are purposefully held from you, that they are that they may in fact be true, but that doesn't make it true. Let's listen to that one more time really fast.
But that doesn't make it true. It's not true. At the most basic level, the news you consume is a lie of the stealthiest and most insidious kind. Facts have been withheld on purpose, along with proportion and perspective.
Wow, what proportion and perspective would have been given by 60 Minutes if we would have been told in the first minute of this production that Homeboy is slated to gain tens of millions of dollars if this quote works. But we didn't get it until the last less than a minute of a show titled 60 Minutes. Let's listen one more time.
It owes on the $100 billion fortune built from tithing. If the IRS decides Nielsen is right, he could be rewarded with up to 30% of what's collected. The IRS.
So what is 30% of hundreds of billions? Or at least of the tax of hundreds of billions. Let's just say it's hundreds of millions that they supposedly owed at less than 10%. What's 30% of 500 million?
A lot of motorcycles.
Yeah, that's a lot of motorcycles. That has nothing to do with this man's motivation. Nothing until the last minute. Why? Because they're robbing us of context and proportion. So let's let them finish the rest of their hit piece here.
IRS does not comment on whistleblower complaints.
Why are you speaking now?
It's time, Sharon. We gave the IRS and the SEC all the professional courtesy. This is just too important to fall through the cracks.
Tens of millions of dollars are pretty important, I will say.
So after the first whistleblower complaint didn't work, we had to up that ante. And then now that the the IRS didn't do anything. Now that the SEC is like, okay, cool, this is a nothing burger. You guys turned left at this signal without signaling. So, we'll slap you on the wrist with some kind of, you didn't fill the forms out correctly. Fine. By the way, just to make up for the cost of the bureaucracy in investigating this stupid whistleblower complaint. And now we've got Homeboy literally saying, why did you come forward? Oh, it wasn't for the 30 million. It's because it's time. I've borne the burden of this.
Sharon. She uses her name.
I've borne the burden of this, Sharon, for too long. And it's so hard thinking I might gain $30 million. But it needs to be said. Because why? It's not been verified by the IRS or by anybody else, but I declare it as truth. Because it's my truth. And I've deconstructed my faith and my logic and my reason in the false idol of ex-Mormon anti-Mormonism. But I swear I'm not an ex-Mormon anti-Mormon. I just titled my book Letter to an IRS Director after Jeremy Reynolds' letter to a CES director. But it's time. Like, this is the worst bad acting. We have to watch it over again one more time because it's so bad it's good.
We gave the IRS and the SEC all the professional courtesy.
And they couldn't pull it off. The strong arm of the government, the SEC and the IRS, the two most powerful entities of the U.S. government besides its very own military. The people that took down Al Capone when the FBI and the police couldn't. He so graciously extended them all the professional courtesy he could, but now he's going to team up with 60 Minutes and Sharon in a pantsuit to take down the church. This is freaking hilarious. You can't make it up.
This is just too important.
It's just too important
to fall through the cracks.
It's possible that you were dead wrong.
No.
I know what I saw.
Yeah, so did the SEC. So did the IRS. But I know what I saw. I'm a hero. Damn it. Oh,
okay, so Carden, there's a few things that, if I could just for a moment here, there's a few things that you forgot if I look through my notes, okay?
Okay, what?
It also, 60 Minutes didn't mention the $6.9 million that the church spent on high-tech toilets used to scan people's anuses and create an anal print of their...
Wait, what?
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. That's the federal government.
Oh,
sorry, my notes got mixed up. Sorry. Okay, this is what
they did that.
Yeah, the Dallin H. Oaks approved $1 million on a time traveler party. He didn't tell anybody about it in hopes that only in the future time travelers would go back in time. Oh my gosh, sorry, that's Stephen Hawking. I'm all $300,000 on a virtual penguin experience to study penguins in Antarctica. How could the church waste our tithing money? Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, that was Harvard.
Yeah.
Wait, is Harvard's the same one who spent $75,000 to blow lizards off of tree branches and study how they fall? $75,000 for Harvard. Or how about this one? $3 million for scholarships for historically black churches. Oh wait, that was the church, actually. Well, that one was legit. Sorry, I'm just all mixed up here, guys. 60 Minutes didn't mention any of that.
Any last thoughts, Jacob and Ed? Ed, you go first.
Yeah, the gag about $1 trillion is really nothing. The Vatican City is worth $10 trillion. Now we're not talking about the Catholic Church Germany, Catholic Church France. And by the way, 4th of July is coming up. I think I'm going to see Mel Gibson and probably Jim Caviezel. So I love you and Catholics very, very much. But I'm sorry. Even if this money that is in question is $150 billion, if we divided that by the 8 billion people in the world, that only comes up to $18.75 per person in a lump sum payout.
And I got to give you some credit here, Ed. You put some really interesting stuff in the Discord. One of them is this graphic that shows up from Wikipedia of the list of the wealthiest religious organizations, and it's hilarious because the top list, the person is the Holy See, known as the Vatican, worth in billions of US dollars, literally says incalculable, estimated over 10 trillion. Why is it incalculable? It's due to sheer size globally. And the second is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, with only 100 billion that it claims. One whistleblower estimated at 200 billion worldwide. The Catholic Church in Germany is 26, in France 23, and then finally you get the Sri Padmanabha Swami Temple at 22 million. So that's actually kind of sad. That means the Church of England with its $12 million is utterly nearly broke.
Yeah.
Compared to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, a small religion that has really only gotten in the black as of the 70s.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that actually is an indictment of Christianity as a whole, living beyond its means and not honestly following the example of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I think there's arguments in the opulence of the Catholic faith, but people forget that it behaved as the politics and the religion for the first 1,000 years of its existence. So it's kind of like comparing the West as a whole against the East. So Catholic comparisons, I think, are a little bit historically disingenuous. But all the rest, how is it that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is the top of this list, going up against churches that are literally hundreds of years older than it?
Because we put our faith in action through tithing.
Ooh, savage. Okay, well, now is your moment, man.
Hey,
what do you got?
One last thing.
One last thing
before the hero Jacob goes. The church.
He's the goat. Remember?
He is the goat.
They were all fanboying over him. He's the goat.
Yeah. By the way, my first car, 68 goat. But that's besides the point.
A GTO. Yeah. That's cool.
So the great thing about pretty much all churches, but our church definitively, is we teach people how to fish. We give them a fish, we teach them how to fish, and we hope that we can all fish together to build this Zion community, and we're all going to be happy. And that is the antithesis of what all the antichrists want.
Okay, so we got to wrap it up now. We literally only have about another 60 seconds left. If you have any last super chats, any last questions, This is your chance to get them out of your system. Just a couple of announcements. The rebrand's coming up soon. It's going to be pretty rad. It's going to be totally sick. If you guys want to help, we're going to be having all kinds of writers. We're going to have all kinds of video producers, so on and so forth. I see Jonah Barnes saying make it a trillion. Yeah, I saw that hashtag floating around. I think it's hilarious. So let's hashtag make it a trillion. If you guys can like this stream, you can share it with your buddies saying make it a trillion. I'm going to literally just pay extra tithing today. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to pay tithing today just for fun. In fact, you know what's kind of hilarious, Jonah Barnes, is when I came back from Israel, I brought back coinage, ancient coinage, right? And one of the prettiest coins is the widow's mite, actually. It's got this beautiful star on the back. But now as Mormons have started collecting them a lot, you know, they've kind of gone up a little bit in individual worth, and they're slightly harder to find, even though they were a very common coin, okay? So I thought it'd be kind of funny. You're no longer allowed to pay in kind. You can only use currency, but they never established the age of the currency. So I think I'm going to try and pay my next tithing check with a widow's mite. And and it's declared value. And so are they going to process it? Because they said currency. So I'm literally going to make a video.
There is some ward clerk that's going to hate you. And they're trying to figure out and make calls about this.
Dude,
to work
I would
out the
love
10
that.
cents.
Dude.
Are you serious? No, if I got that for tithing, I'd be like, come check this out. That'd be the coolest thing ever.
I'm going to have to put an air tag in it. So if they accidentally throw it away, I can go dig it out of the freaking dump, out of the trash, right? But yeah, I'm paying my next tithing with a widow's mite. Yeah, how crazy is that? Isn't that pretty cool?
So cool.
Yeah, so we got one last super chat from Diamond Dave. And you guys else want to give us other super chats? Get them out of your system right now. It says, you guys are amazing. And as always, chat is awesome. Yes, the chat was great. Thanks for everybody that was hanging out with us today. You guys have been absolute gems. Jonah Barnes, how can people find you? Jacob Hansen, how can people find you?
You can find Jonah Barnes right here on Midnight Mormons. I'm always in the chat because I love the show and I'm a huge fan.
Okay.
So that's where you can find me.
Good. And you, the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Where can they find you, Jacob Hansen?
All that I am, I owe to my faithful friend, Cardin Ellis. You can find me on my channel, Thoughtful Faith, on YouTube, or you can go to thoughtful-faith.com where you can kind of see everything.
Okay, awesome. Well, guys, this has been real, and this has been fun, and this has been real fun. This is Midnight Stream.